our, what, 9th Sunday? Like, that's crazy. I think this is our 9th Sunday. So we've literally been on quarantine for that amount of time. That's crazy, 9 weeks. And my name is Hadiatu. For those of you guys that are new here, for those of you guys that are like truth to here, and you already know that this is like a safe place for women to just learn different things about themselves, about their businesses, about their lives, about their health, about their fitness, about their mindset. And it was really just birthed out of the fact that we were all going to be home. And sometimes you just need to see people's faces. Like now people are able to go out and they see more faces and stuff. But for all of us that have been plugged into this community for weeks and weeks, we haven't missed as much as most, And so that's really what this was created for. And today what we decided to do is end out Mental Health Awareness Month with some ladies that we've had on before, because I feel like they're the true experts on that, and I know that I want to say it was Charisma. So Charisma talks to us about social media, and Charisma got on last week, and when she was texting me, she's like, we need to understand how the food that we eat contributes to the way that we feel and the way that our minds work. And so, I literally reached out to Keena and Erica, and they were down for it. These are complete and total nutritionists, lifestyle, wellness, wholeness professionals. And so between Christy, Erica, as well as Keena, today is going to be a day of enlightenment. Today is going to be a day that you're going to be so happy that, you took your couple of minutes out to learn about what's going on. And the first speaker that we have is who we try to open up every single week with, because she's known as Miss Get Your Life Right. She allows everybody to feel good about being lost in their space. Like how some people will talk to you and when they're trying to make you learn and be better, they end up talking down to you at that time. Like Christy is the one that's like, she uplifts you in your lost space to help you become found, right? She's somebody that, for real, for the years that I've gotten to know her, I admire her more and more, not because of her profession, but because of her heart to serve. What I love is that she is like the chief cheerleader for everybody. Like whatever you're doing, she's like, yes, sis. Like you need one of them in your corner. That's Christy all day, every day. She also does like relationship counseling. So she helps couples get themselves together. She also does counseling for you as a person to become whole, so you can find the person that you're supposed to be with. She also has a freaking podcast, called Wife Wisdom. And if you guys have not tuned into it, she's going to talk to you about it so you'll understand more and more about what Wife Wisdom has to offer. And guys, I'm excited to be able to have her on here. And last but not least, outside of all the things that she does, she's also a mother. She is also a wife. She is also a leader and has made over 6 figures in her home-based business. So when you talk about a complete and well-rounded individual, that's exactly who you get with Christy Little Jones. And she's going to talk to us. I'm not going to tell you guys what she's going to talk to us about because I'm super excited about it. I'm going to let her go ahead and spill the beans. And so ladies, I hope that you are all the way ready, all the way tuned in to hear this powerhouse. And so without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to my sister from another with my girl, Miss Christy Little Jones.
Thank you, Hadi. I love your introductions. They're so awesome. Thank you so much. I love being here each and every week. Hello, ladies. Happy Sunday. Thank you for coming on and being here each and every Sunday. It would not be the same without you. So thank you, Hadi, just for seeing the vision for this. It truly is a blessing to all of us. So I'm excited to be able to not only pour into you today with all my girls, Hadi and Erica and Keena, but I have something that, and I love what you said about, Christy makes us feel good being in our lost spaces. And that's really what it is, because we all are trying to become the best version of ourselves, right? But we can't do that if we're feeling shame or we're feeling guilt, or we're carrying baggage unnecessarily, because we all need to, they're all things that we all need to work on to get better, right? And so today I get to talk to you about something that literally came up. I get some of the things that I want to talk about, if I'm in the shower, if I'm laying down doing yoga or something like random. And so today what I'm going to talk to you about is, do you know your blind spots? Do you know your blind spots, where they are in your life? Do you know where your blind spots are? And so just to kind of give you a little definition of a blind spot, your blind spots are areas in your life that you may know or you may not know you need to work on, because you are either ignoring them, you're in complete denial, or you're just oblivious. Right? And so I want to do a little interaction. Do you guys know where your blind spots are? If you do know where your blind spots are and you are courageous enough to share in this very safe place, go ahead and write them down. I'll tell you guys right now and I want to say blind spots because sometimes we don't know where they are or we are ignoring them. That's why I call them a blind spot, right? Because if we are ignoring them, we're like, I don't want to see them, la, 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 right? Because it takes a lot of work to do the work in making the change that we need to change so they no longer become a blind spot. So one of my biggest blind spots was control. So, and I didn't realize that it was such a blind spot until we went into the pandemic. We went into this quarantine. And I was like, why am I upset? Why am I angry? Why am I frustrated? I'm annoyed. My family was getting on me. Getting on my nerves. And I was like, what is going on? Why am I feeling like this? And I realized it was control. I could not control what was going on. We were, the stay-at-home order came, all of this unknown uncertainty, people were freaking out. We're having masks. We had all this information from the media. And I realized I could not control my surroundings. And so for me, even though I didn't think I was a very controlling person, that actually came out when we went into our quarantine. So I realized, this may be a blind spot in my life. And let me kind of dig a little deeper to see how accurate me wanting to control different areas of my life really is. Okay. So control, I was typing that. Honey, you're so funny. My biggest blind spot is being able to put myself first. My needs first. Very good. So I want to give you a couple of examples of people's different scenarios of people's blind spots. So you call someone to share something that you're going through or something exciting that just happened to you. And the person you called completely takes over the conversation and makes that call all about them. Blind spot. How many of us know people like that? Or you call a friend to talk, to share, to vent, and they're constantly interrupting and they never let you finish a sentence. Blind spot, right? Someone does something nice for you out of their heart, but it doesn't live up to your expectation. So in turn, they complain about what you didn't do versus recognizing your heart to do something nice. Blind spot. What about the negative person or the person who's constantly complaining so much that when you see their number on the phone, you don't even pick it up because you feel like a dump and you leave every conversation with them totally drained. Blind spot. So these are just a few of the common blind spots that people have in their lives, and sometimes they don't even know. People don't even know they're constantly interrupting the conversation, right? They don't even know that when you're trying to share something, they completely turn the conversation around and make it all about them, and the next thing you know, you're listening for an hour to a conversation that you really initiated. So how do you identify your blind spots? Number one is ask your most trusted family and friends. What are the areas in my life that I can work on to become the best version of myself? Now, one of the things when you ask these people, one, you have to trust them. You have to trust their heart for you, that they have a heart for you, right? Because whether they're family and friends, they're definitely family members who are jealous of you, right? Who don't necessarily want to see the best for you. So you want to make sure when you ask this question, it's for people who you really believe have a heart for you, that they really want to see you win. Now, some of us may not even have a circle of people that we can even ask. But is there one person that you trust that they'll give you the truth, the honest truth, and they won't say something out of manipulation, or they won't say something out of control or hurt, right? So ask your most trusted family and friends what are the areas in my life that I can work on to become the best version of myself? I remember when I was probably just early out of college, so I might have been mid-20s. And I remember one of my closest friends told me that I was selfish. And I was so devastated. And I was like, I'm not a selfish person. Why would you say that? And you know her example? Her example was she asked to borrow a pair of earrings. And I can't remember if it were the earrings that my dad gave me, but she asked to borrow a pair of earrings and I said no. And so it was an aha moment for me because it made me kind of see other people's perspective of what they may even consider as selfish. But again, that might have been a blind spot for me if I wasn't self-aware of kind of how other people perceive. So I'll ask my husband, I'll ask my inner circle of friends, okay, I have a very high expectation for myself and for other people. So oftentimes I have to do a self-check. So I will call those people and I'll say, listen, this is the situation. Am I totally being just unreasonable and ridiculous? Because they know my expectations are totally off the chart. So I usually ask my husband, okay, I need a self-check here because I don't want to get offended if this is not realistic about what's going on. So you want to make sure that you are even cultivating those kind of relationships where you can actually have a very real, authentic, draws down, vulnerable, transparent conversation where you guys can share and sharpen each other without getting offended, where they can say, you know what, Christy, you were a little aggressive in the way you said that. And I can say, really? Why did you think that? How, because of your tone or something like that. And I can be like, oh, okay. We need people in our lives to help sharpen us, right? Because we can't always see ourselves. And I'll talk to you about that in a minute. Number 2, be honest with yourself. Most of us know our flaws, right? Usually the only thing that keeps us from knowing our flaws or even knowing our blind spots is pride. Now, pride never sees itself. I want to let that sink in. Pride never sees itself. So that's ego, right? That's the need to be right. People who are fighting to be right over being reconciled or harmonized in the relationship, that's pride. And that's ego. And ego never sees itself. And it's really fascinating to me because I have two boys and a girl, and I never grew up with boys. So it's very interesting for me to see how men perceive themselves. Like from very little, they're in the mirror looking at themselves, like doing the muscles, like, oh, oh, I'm fine. And I'm like, if we could bottle this ego and give it just a drop to every single woman in the world, listen, our insecurities would be over. And I was like, how on earth do they see themselves as the most amazing men in the world? And you're looking at them like, do you see what I see? I know. Do you see what? But they do. They're like, oh, I am fabulous. I'm amazing. And it's ego. So pride doesn't see itself. It does not see itself. So it's important to create and cultivate relationships around you that help you see yourself, because there's always areas for us to really put in the work. And that's number 3, do the work. So what does that mean? That means reading self-help books in areas that are your blind spots. So if it's, let's say, you have a lot of negative self-talk, right? Then you're going to want to read a book because again, that negative self-talk, you think that it doesn't bleed out on other people, but it really does. Because you know how uncomfortable it is when you are with someone and they start talking negatively about myself. Oh my gosh, I'm so fat. Oh gosh, I'm so ugly. You're just like, what do I say? Right? No, you're not. No, you're not. But you're trying to convince them that they're not, but they're already in victim mode and you're just uncomfortable around them, right? So they don't even know that this blind spot of negative self-talk and kind of just defaming their own character in humor or whatever it is because of their level of insecurity, they don't realize this is bleeding on people, making them uncomfortable. So this is a blind spot to them. So you want to do the work, read self-help books, Learn and listen from people you admire. So people that you admire, learn from them, listen to them. If it's a book, if it's a webinar, or, you know, like start following them on social media, or it could be a blog or podcast or anything like that. Start listening to the people that you admire. Do not be afraid of change. Oftentimes people are so afraid to change because what has become comfortable is living in the blind spot. So many of us know people who have just a victim perception or perspective, right? Everything is, oh, I knew it. I knew I was going to lose my job. I knew Corona, I was going to get the virus. Like it was just, they just have a very negative, they just draw it to them, right? But for them to shift their mind and to start thinking more positively about their life or about their circumstances, it is so uncomfortable that they default back to the negative, or they default back to the blind spot. So you have to really be not only not afraid to change, but be consistent in the new change. Okay. Make sure you confront the truth, right? The truth of what's going on. So let's just say, I'm trying to think of an example. Let's just take selfishness. So, no, that might be too hard. I'm gonna do an easy one. Let's just say weight. Okay. So you want to lose weight, you're a little, you're 10 pounds overweight, 20, 50, 100, doesn't matter, right? So if you're overweight and somebody says, and you say to yourself, oh no, I'm fine. You're dealing with, you pre-diabetic, you got, high blood pressure, and then you release to yourself, you think that your body is in the healthiest state. You're not confronting the truth of what's really going on, right? So you're in denial. And so it's important for you to be able to confront the truth. Like, yeah, I really do need to lose 20 pounds. Yep, I do need to start eating healthy and make different choices. I do need to stop eating, I'm snacking after 10 p.m. or 9 p.m., right? So you need to start confronting the truth of what's really going on, because that's the only way that you can really overcome the blind spots in your life. And then do one small thing at a time, right? So there are many areas in our lives that we may want to change or shift, but don't try to shift them all at the same time, because you're going to be overwhelmed, and it's automatically going to be a default back to your comfort zone, which is often in those blind spots. So just work on one thing at a time. So if it is expressing yourself, or let me just say, there's an example, Jocelyn, I think, who said that, putting herself first. So we don't want to go to the extreme, right? Where you're like, yo, forget all y'all, I'm gonna put myself first 100% of the time, right? We're not gonna extreme. Just do one thing at a time, right? In the morning, when you wake up and you want the first hour of your day, then now we're gonna start conditioning everyone in our household that when I wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning, I'll be available to interact and engage with all of you guys at 8 a.m., right? I promise you they will start supporting that, because that you have made that a new, kind of like a new rule, or just a new expectation for everyone, but you've made the decision to give yourself the first hour of the day for you. And everyone really will support that as long as you're consistent, okay? So I love some of these, what you guys said. Procrastination, that's a great one. That's a great one. I think we all can work on that. Perfection, definitely. That's a great one. Control, quick temper, perfect. Control, communication, improvement with others, excellent. Yeah. Erica said, woo child. I never called them on it. I always allow it, feeling as though they may need me more than I need them. Yeah. So good. Let's just see. Control, procrastination, judgment. That's another good one. Tyra, thank you for sharing that, because again, that is it. Those are blind spots where we just, even innately, we see something and we automatically judge them, right? We may not even know them. And again, it's a human, what's the word? It's kind of like you have to fight against it, right? Because we live in such a social focused world and social heavy and influenced world that we have to really catch ourselves on, really catch ourselves and not allow those preconceived notions or judgments, like you said, to infiltrate our thoughts. So we have to can take control over them, right? And so even if we're doing some self-talk to say things like, you know what? God made her just like they made me. She's beautiful, or he's handsome, just like the next person is. Doesn't make, because his, their hair is curly and this person's straight, doesn't make them any less beautiful. So we have to really be very mindful of because they're small, right? They're little tiny, teeny, tiny blind spots that could really prevent us from creating, not only being the best version of ourselves, but really creating solid, supportive relationships that really, that we love, right? That make life amazing. So impatience, great. These are all good. So good. Overcommitting, excellent. Really good. Thank you, ladies, so much for sharing. But these are the things that, this is kind of came up for me. Blind spots. Where are your blind spots? And I want to just challenge you to do the work. Really, write them down. What are my blind spots? Ask your friends, your closest family and friends, where these blind spots are showing up in your lives. And so I'm sure if you're married, your husband has already told you where these blind spots are, right? Because they've been a point of contention. You've had friction around them, or, intense times of fellowship around these areas, these blind spots. So you kind of know where they are, right? But doing the work to make the shift or the change is the hardest part, because once you know where they are, now we got to make the shift. We got to make the change. And that's where it's like a tug of war with the default, right? Which is your safe place. The default, which might be the blind spot. The default may be the comfort zone, right? So it's tugging with the desire to step into a new version of yourself, if that makes sense. Forgiving people who have done me wrong. Absolutely. Excellent, Kamitsi. Thank you. So Hadi, you have any questions?
Well, I'm thinking like, okay, so let's say, and I'm just going to use one of mine, like,
yeah,
one of my blind spots for sure. And it's funny because my little sister is like one of my best friends. She's the one that like says it all the time. It's what I said is overcommitting. So like, I don't know if any of you ladies have been like, I could do this and this and this and this for everybody. And then you find yourself so overwhelmed that like none of the things get done like the way that you want them done. And you end up putting yourself in a place where now people are mad at you, even though you were just trying to help everybody.
Yep.
So I don't know if anybody has been in that place before. And so like, okay, I acknowledge it. Now that I've got it, acknowledge, what are my steps?
Yeah.
Like,
that's
what do
really
I do now?
Yeah, for sure. And so that's probably why we love each other so much, because I'm Christy, I'll do it, Little Jones, right? So I totally overcommit. And so now that I know that I overcommit, I don't answer right away.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the first boundary to really helping yourself not to overcommit. So when people text you, hey, Hadi, can you do this? Hey, Hadi, can you do that? You can say, oh, okay, well, let's talk about it, right? So you don't answer right away. So you say, let's talk about it, because depending on it may be more information that you need in order to make a decision, but you want to get all of the information, right? You want to get all the information because it may be something that is very easy for you to insert into your life, but it may be something that requires a lot more time and effort, and where you said yes to it, but now it's going to take it's going to take 20 hours of your week. Yeah. And you're like, and now you're creating a violation of the other person's expectation because you said you could do it, but you didn't find out all the information. So that is the first thing, is don't answer right away. That's just going to be a practice. And no, you want to jump in and say, yeah, I could do it, because you love serving people, but Now you have to start practicing. I can't commit to that right now, but let's talk about it. And maybe it's something that I can help you with.
Right? I'm literally writing down exactly what you said, because I have to like learn to say that, because that goes along with the people that like don't know how to say no, right? Yes. So strong-willed as I am, like when you don't know how to say no, like you got to ease your way into it. So it's, say it again, I can't commit right now.
I can't commit to that right now, but let's talk about it, and I may be able to help you in some way or something like that. I can't commit to that right now. I can't commit, or I can't say yes right now, but let's talk about it, and you know, we'll go from there. Right? So again, it really is giving them an answer, because some people will text you and you don't answer because you're like, oh, I don't know what to say, or oh, this may be too much, but then you don't want to say no. Like that used to be for me too. I hated saying no because I hated disappointing people. And so then I got to a point where I would say, you know, I would try to pretend, well, maybe if I don't answer, they won't. They won't respond. And then did you see my text? And then they're calling, oh, did you like, and then you're like, oh, because then you had to answer. So at least if you give them an answer and say, well, I can't say yes right now, or I can't commit to that right now. Let's get, you know, I need a little more detail, or let's talk a little bit more offline. And, you know, so I can hear what it is that you really need to see if I have the capacity or I have the bandwidth to help you. Because that's the issue. It's a capacity issue, right? Because we as women juggle a lot of things. We do a lot of things well, right? And we feel like, okay, we're spinning 10 plates. And then people, they perceive us as managing those 10 plates really well. So then they're like, let me give her 10 more plates. And then we think because we were able to manage 10 plates that, oh, 10 more plates isn't going to be a big deal. But then that 1, 11, 12, 13th extra plate totally makes us drop the 1 through 10 plates. And then we're overwhelmed. We've got a headache. We're like, everything has suffered because we didn't say no. And I think that's another piece to really learning yourselves, is understanding your capacity. What, you know, because we're all different, right? I can really do a lot of things well, but some of the women in my life can't. They can't do 8 things at the same time. They can only do 2. And that's okay, right? There's no judgment there. It's just, you have to know what your capacity is to do things well. If you know you can do 4 things well, that 5th thing is going to throw everything off. You can't say yes to the 5th thing. You can't. You just have to say, well, I can't do it right now. I may be able to do it at a later date, because one of the things that I am managing is about to, I'm about to get that off my plate. And when I do, I'll let you know, and I may be able to help you, right? And that's part of studying yourself and learning, like, I don't have the capacity for drama. I really don't. Like, I really, as I've gotten older, it's like nails on a chalkboard for me. So I run away from it as fast as possible. Like, you will not find me. I will not answer my phone if you are drama, right? And so I know I don't have the capacity for people who are drama in my life. I just don't. And I've made that decision. So anybody who tries to bring drama, I'm like, they slowly are pushed into the further bullseye rings, because I just don't do drama, because it affects every aspect of my life. And so I have to protect my space. And so I can't allow people to infiltrate that with drama. So even a relationship where you feel like they dump all the time, they're doing all the dumping on you. I remember I had a friend who used to call me with the heaviest stuff, and I would leave after the end of the conversation like emotionally drained. And I didn't know why. You know, I was younger, I didn't really understand. And then I realized, oh my gosh, it's the relationship that's draining me. It's our conversation that's draining me. So I had to protect my space, and I was not as easily available anymore, right? But guess what? Those people who like being fed with the negativity of, you know, that just fuels their own inner negativity, they will find other people to do that. So once you start setting your boundaries, don't worry, they'll find somebody else to do that with, right? I'm
gonna ask one more, just because, and these are for me. So if you guys got some, you got to say it. Like, tell us that you want her to like hit on it. But I'm gonna tell you, Tyra, you put judgment on there, and I really believe that I'm a free-spirited, helping, nurturing person. But I will tell you that my husband said that I was judgmental. And I'm like, really? And so I asked some of my friends, I'm like, do you feel like I'm judgmental? And they said, no, but I feel that it's my friends. So they probably are like, girl, nah. You know, they're not going to really tell me, or maybe they don't want to hurt my feelings. So let's just say, like, that's been told to somebody on here, like, you're judgmental. And, you know, for a lot of the women that are in home-based businesses, a piece of you comes out that you don't even realize, and you start judging people because they're not paying attention to what you're doing. And so you're like, oh, so you just going to work just one job and you're not really thinking that. So you kind of become a little bit judgmental from that standpoint. Like, girl, you always had one job too. Don't like try to now create like this whole new thing. So I think that some of us that are in network marketing, without realizing that could have happened to us, and other people can portray us that way. So how do we go back? So it's like, no, I just learned a better way. I'm not being judgmental. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really good. I think that a lot of it is self-awareness, right? So let's just take your example of network marketing. So as you, you know, have more success in your home-based business, right? Oftentimes success gets to people's head, right? Which in turn can breed pride. And pride doesn't see itself, right? So if you are experiencing success and now you start feeling yourself, and then you start looking down on people who may be starting their own home-based business, right? That's judgmental, right? Because you used to be there first. You used to be there at one time too. So it's a lack of self-awareness. It's a lack of humility. So I really feel like when you know that judgment has been, you know, it could be the smallest thing, like, oh, they didn't get a college degree. It could even be if you're single and you desire to be married. Are you judgmental in the men who are approaching you? Are you being judgmental in what they're bringing to the table? Right? Because you're like, oh, I need a man that is this height, he's this weight, he works out this many days a week, he has this much money in the bank. Well, what about the guy who is so kind, he's serving, he loves his family, he is a hard worker, what about that guy? He may not meet all of those, that laundry list of things that you want, but he's a good man, right? He's got a good heart. And so I feel like judgment really prevents us from being the blessings that are waiting for us, because we have been in a blind spot where we don't realize that we're judging other people by what we see, right? And not giving it an opportunity. For example, so even being in a home-based business, when we want to share it with people and they totally block the blessing, and they're like totally not interested, or they're like, no, this is a bad thing for me. They're not even open to experiencing what blessing this could be. So that's judgment. That's a part of judging. And if people could just learn to be more open to just not being so controlling, right? If they could be more open and not be so controlling, I really feel like life would be so much richer. It would be so much happier, because they're not trying to control it. They're just trying to allow it to unfold and really relinquishing the process to just going through life. And so judgment is a self-awareness issue. And it's a discipline, really. So you have to be disciplined not to be judging. You have to be disciplined and self-aware not to put certain judgments, I guess, judgments on people, situations, circumstances, and things. Keena said, but is he tall? Y'all are so silly. That's why I love you, ladies. Right, Keena, we don't want, yes, but you still need to be open, even if he's 5'6", right? Still be open, because you might be like, oh my gosh, this man's treated me better than any man I've ever experienced in my life. And you would have missed it because he's 5'6".
That's a judgment she gonna have to keep. I understand you, Keena. My husband is 6'4", and I'm like, no. But I'm 5'3", so if you're shorter than me as a man, you're classified as I'm not gonna say it. You're short. Okay, so it doesn't work. So if they're shorter than me, it's a true problem. Like my cousin's like, her eyebrows are up like, yeah. I'm just saying. I mean, you gotta have something, right? No, but I mean, I think that that's huge for the judgment part. And so, you know, just being self-aware that if you feel yourself going to that place, because I mean, I have noticed that about myself, but I don't necessarily voice it. Even if I'm thinking something about somebody, like I'm not voicing that to them. But like when I recognize that the thought comes in my head, I mean, my husband probably just sees me more, so he just knows more. So when it comes to my head, you know, I guess I recognize that it happens. I just need to know like what to do. Say, hey girl, you're being judgy. You just tell yourself you're being judgmental.
Yes. Yeah, I think being, you know, I think also when you recognize it and you think it in your head, so try to think the opposite, right? So if you're like feeling judgy, okay, so what would be the non-judgmental thought, right? So if it's, oh, I don't know if I would want to go out with this guy because he doesn't have a college degree, right? Judgmental. Now, the opposite is that it could have been, but what if he wanted to go to college and he didn't have the money? Right? So it's really opening up your worldview, right? Opening up your global perspective on not thinking that your perception is the only perception or it's the right perception. Your way isn't the right way. Your way isn't the only way. And it really does open up your relationships even to not be so offensive, right? Because you're realizing, you're kind of giving people the benefit of the doubt. Like, oh, I only want to date a man who, like, so I said to myself, I'm gonna give you a great judgment. I said to myself, you know what? I'll never date a man who has kids. Right? Now, I totally eliminated myself from many men, right? Many amazing men, because a lot of men have kids, right? And so I totally had to eat my words when I met my husband, Adrian. He had a 16-year-old son at the time from a previous marriage, but he swept me off my feet. No man had ever treated me as good as he did. So I had to eat my words, right? That was a judgment I do, because I don't want to deal with baby mama drama. That's what I said. That was the reason why I didn't want to date any man with children, because I didn't want to deal with drama, like you guys heard earlier. But look if I had really stuck to that judgment, I would have totally missed out on 19 years with Adrian. I would have missed out on Sky Blazing Haze. I would have missed out on being really inheriting AJ as my son. Like, I would have missed out on such a huge blessing and purpose in my life because of a judgment that I had. So you've got to really keep these judgments in check, right? So if you have a judgment, notice it, recognize it, and then just kind of try to open your worldview. Like, well, he asked me out. What's the problem? Like, what's the big deal with going out for coffee? Or what's the big deal with going roller skating? Like, it's a few hours. You may see really during that time, you might be like, oh my gosh, we hit it off. I never laughed that hard ever in life. Right now you got date 2, but because he was, not the cutest, or he wasn't your type, or he wasn't as tall as you wanted, or as short as you needed, or whatever, you missed out on that. But then next thing you know, you guys have been dating a year and he's asking you to marry him. So I just had a coaching client who went through this very same thing. There was a guy, she was like, he's a little heavier than I want. Like, I'm not as attracted to him as I want to be. I was like, do not block your blessings. He is kind, and he's kind-hearted, and he really likes you. So stop being judgmental. She's like, yes, but these judgments have come from my parents. Even better, right? Now you need to renew your mind, right? So she's like, now mind you, she wants to get married. And so she's like, I'm just not as attracted to him. And I said, okay, what are the things that you do love about him? And she listed them. I was like, oh, so you got a long list. She's like, yeah, but he's just a little chubbier than I like. And I was like, okay, so keep open, stay open, but I want you to focus on the things that you love about him, not what you don't. Like, right? We can work out, right? We can lose some weight, okay? And so she's like, okay, she sent me a picture of a fat engagement ring that she is so excited about, because now she's open. She is like head over heels over this guy, totally madly in love, but she was about to allow her judgment to blind her to really seeing who he was as an individual. And now she's planning a wedding. So judgment will jack you up.
For sure. For sure. I saw one more and then we'll go into the next segment about like if somebody's blind spot is like the boundaries, like setting boundaries, like what are the steps? Let me just make sure I read this the right way. I think they said, what steps do you suggest for setting boundaries? That's good. And I think that most of the women on here are we're all like similar, hence why we're on here every single week. We're probably the ones that do the most for our friends, support all of our friends. We're like the shoulder to cry on. We're like the Superman friend. We're like, most of the people that are on here are probably that. Okay. So I think that's why we all come back every single week for more, because we're like, fill me back up. I've been emptied. Right. So setting boundaries is probably rough for most people that are on here. So help us with that.
Yeah, setting boundaries is like you said, it's really tough. And but the thing is that it's never going to be the right time. You know, you feel like, oh, I'll set boundaries when I turn 30. I'll set boundaries when, you have to make the decision to set the boundary, right? You have to choose to do things that protect your space, that really protect your peace. So what is it that is causing the unpeace? What's causing the unrest? What's causing the infiltration of your boundaries, right? Because the reason why people infiltrate our boundaries is because we allow them to. We allow them to. No one can step over a boundary if you set the boundary, right? If you teach them what the boundary is, they can't step over it. That's how come some people, you know, the same person can talk to someone some way, but then they talk to you a different way. Because you're not going to talk to me like that, right? But that other person allows you to talk to them like that because they haven't set the boundary, right? So when you set boundaries, you have to make the decision to set the boundary, and you have to be consistent. Don't move the boundary, right? Don't move it. That's one of the things that marriages struggle in a lot, because we move the boundary. We tell them they can do this one week, and then we say, no, you can do this the next week. And so now they're confused, right? So they don't know. But when you set the boundary, you know, keep it consistent. And, you know, you can always change your mind. You can always say, well, you know, like even parenting, I've said things like, no, you guys can do this and you can't do that. And then they're like, well, why, Mom? Why? You know, we talk about it. I'm like, oh, you're right. You know, you're right. That's okay. Well, let's change the boundary a little bit, but we can talk about it, right? But at least when you set the boundary, be consistent. And then if you want to move it, have a conversation about it, right? Don't move it secretly, right? So nobody knows, especially the person who you're setting the boundary with. And so I think it just is a matter of making the decision to set the boundary and really staying open in communication. And I think that's a hard thing for women too, because it could be a confrontational conversation, and because we hate confrontation or we don't like it, then we don't talk about it, and then we're like, oh, it's okay if they walk all over me, or it's okay if he talks to me anyway, or it's okay. Like, no, it's not okay. It's not okay. You need to know that you do not ever call me that. You never call me out of my name. You never speak to me in that tone if you ever want to talk to me again, period, right? And so then they're like, and because some people just kind of push the envelope, they want to see how far they can go. And they do it on purpose, right? Because they're really bullies, right? They're undercover bullies. And so if we set boundary, then it commands a respect from them. And most bullies, right, when they're stood up to, they're like, oh, okay, sorry, right? So we've got to figure out, you know, there are people in our lives, even our spouses, right, who sometimes will try to bully us, and we'll have to be like, you are not going to talk to me like that. And that's what I'd say with my husband. Like, he had a tone for years. And I had to be like, no, when you talk to me like that, I feel like you're saying you idiot at the end of that sentence. And we're not going to make it if you continue to talk to me like that. So I need you. He's like, well, this is how I talk. This is just who I am. Well, guess what? You're going to have to talk to me different than every other person in the entire world, because I'm not going to allow you to talk to me like that in that tone ever again. And I mean, we went through this. This was a major issue in our marriage for about 10 years, easily 10 years, where he had to relearn how to talk to me because I set the boundary that you're not going to talk to me in this tone. And it took about, we've been together 19, it took about 15 years for him to get into a groove where he really could recognize himself or really be able to have control over his own tone with me. And it's carried to our children, it's carried to his friends, right? But it took a long time because he really felt, this is just who I am and you're going to have to deal with it or not. I was like, well, then I won't. And then he was like, oh, well, wait a minute. Tell me again what it is I do, right? Because a boundary doesn't move, right? And that's the issue that we're dealing with in our society. Like the boundary stone is moving all the time, right? But what is the standard? What is your boundary? What is your value? What's your moral? And stand on that, right? If we don't stand for something, we'll fall for anything, right? So when you stand for whatever that boundary is, don't move it unless you want to. You make the decision to move it. Don't allow other people to move it.
Perfecto. I'm just looking at what everybody wrote. Got it. Boundaries. And I think the hardest part for boundaries is that after you haven't set them, to go and instill them. So like you didn't set them before, and then you come back and you're like, all right, I don't like that no more.
Yeah.
And so when you come back and do it, you look nuts. Like I was even thinking, and I'm going to talk about this in my section, is that like, boundaries within like business or any relationships, if you do a bunch for everybody at the beginning, they expect you to do that forever. So now that you've set that boundary, like, and you know, like that's natural for a giving person, you're going to do the most, but then you get like, wait, okay, today I'm tired. I don't kind of want to do the most anymore. Now you look crazy. Like you're going back on what you were before. So like, how do you inch your way into saying, okay, listen, for the first 5 months, I might have cooked too much, and I don't really cook all day every day. Like that's really not my thing.
But that's exactly
and so like, okay.
That's exactly what you say. And say, because it's so much easier to talk out of your truth, right? It's so much easier to talk authentically where you don't have to pretend, right? If you said, you know, I was really trying to be the best wife and cook every day and take care of you at night, and I really was, but I am completely exhausted and I hate cooking. So, right? And they're going to be like shocked, stunned, and amazed, and that's okay too. But so how can we come to a happy medium where I don't have to cook 7 days a week because I'm not a Stepford wife, nor do I want to be, right? And then they can be like, well, I love cooking. Or he can say, well, why don't we eat out twice a week? And like, then you guys can have a conversation. But it's better than trying to pretend, right? It's better than trying to pretend like and hold up this thing where you're cooking 7 days a week and now you're resenting him because he never offered to even help, right? He's not even offering to wash the dishes. And now because you weren't authentic, you're cooking 7 days a week, you hate cooking, and now you're mad at your husband and he has no idea why. So when you share with your, like whoever it is, whether it's your girlfriend, your mother, your sister, your brother, you know, it's important, even it's not even fair to them. It's not fair to the relationship when you're not authentic, when you're not sharing. And guess what? It's okay to change your mind. It's okay. Like, I don't like cooking. I never have. And so my husband's like, it's okay. I don't need to. But he, you know, I was trying to be the good wife in the beginning, but now he cooks more during the week than I do. Right? And that's what every relationship is. There's a give and a take. There's a give and a negotiation. There's a give and a give. And then there's a take and a take, right? It's always, but the biggest thing is stay in the conversation. keep talking about it until you figure it out. Don't, don't cut it off prematurely. Don't give up on it. Don't, stifle your voice, because it's going to breed resentment. It's going to breed that distance or that wedge in the relationship unnecessarily, when you can really just say, you know what? The way you talk to me really hurt my feelings. And let me just tell you why, because it reminded me when I was in 6th grade and my teacher talked to me like, you know what I mean? Like, then you can share a little bit about why. And now not only are they learning more about you, but now they can say, oh, people who are close to me know that I'm very sensitive to tone. So nobody comes to me with a tone, right? Because they know that about me. Because if they've said something to me that was a little aggressive, or I might not have been in a great space to receive it, I'll tell them and say, you know what? The way you talked to me made me feel, it really hurt my heart. No, why? What happened? Because I'm really sensitive to tone. And I just need you to know that about me. So when you talk to me, I need you just to be more aware of your tone. Okay, sure, great, okay, got it, right? So I think that we as women owe it to ourselves, and we owe it to the relationships that matter most to us, to be real, to be authentic, and share our truth, and not be afraid to share our truth. I'm telling you, it's like a weight lifted off of your chest, like the weight of stifling and shrinking and, like quieting your voice is lifted when you share it. And especially supported when you realize the person doesn't love you any less, or they don't pull their love away from you because you shared your truth. Make sense?
Makes perfect sense, Christy. And I think it all goes back to one thing that you've talked about every single time. And it's always just communication. Like all the areas that we have issues with in our lives could be fixed if we actually learned how to communicate with each other and actually like listened as much as we've talked. And, for ladies that weren't on right at the beginning, what we talked about was, understanding what your blind spots were. And I wrote down one of the things that I'm going to do today. And I've done this before, but I'm going to do it again today, is ask your friends and family members that are the closest to you, like the people that you respect their opinion, that if they tell you something, it's for real. Ask them this. So for all the ladies that are on here, I want all of us to do this. Ask the people that are closest to you, what are the areas in my life that I could work on to be the best version of myself? So again, what are the areas in my life that I could work on to be the best version of myself? And, that's going to be a place. And I wrote down the exact people that I'm going to reach out to. Like, as you're saying, I wrote the ones out that I'm going to reach out to ask that. And you've got to be open to whatever the criticism is. You've got to be a person that knows that they're saying it from a good place. And you need to know yourself well enough to know if a certain person says it, it won't put you over the edge. You know what I'm saying? Like, we know our friends that, like, yeah, we respect them, but like, this not the time for me to hear nothing from her like that. So, we all know our people like that. Today's not the day for her. So know who those individuals are, because really the only way that you can become better is if you're open to that criticism, and you've got to be just in an accepting place. And, with this being the end of Mental Health Awareness Month, like, you've got to worry about your mental health. And there are things that are going on inside of you that maybe you're fighting with on an everyday basis. And your friends could say, hey, maybe you should work on this. And you're like, yeah, okay, now I could take the step to go work on it. Yeah. So I'm taking that from this. I'm trying to see what else. And then, of course, for my overcommitting. So I know what to do with my overcommitting. But, if there's anything you want to leave us with before we go into this next section, you are definitely open to do so, Christy. But you've blessed us a lot.
Awesome. Yes. So, I think we're all work in progress, always. And we're also a work in process, right? So the one of the things that I realized was a blind spot for me is I did not enjoy the process. And I took a look at when I was in graduate school, when I was in undergrad, when I was, at my first job, and I was like, oh, I really did whatever I could to avoid the process. I was trying to go over it, around it, under it, but I never wanted to go through it. So now I'm being more conscious and aware of really embracing my process and going through it and feeling all the discomfort of it and really honoring myself in the process. And so if I'm feeling uncomfortable, or if I'm feeling scared or nervous, or I'm feeling confident, or whatever it is, I'll recognize it. But we've got to really get to a place of self-awareness, which means we're no longer numb, right? We get into a place where we're in routine and we become numb to everything around us, even our own feelings. But when we are self-aware, we can go through the process way more present and fully engaged, which in turn will make us the best version of ourselves. So thank you, ladies, as always, for just allowing me to pour into you and to encourage you to not only become the best version of yourselves, but create the best relationships around you to support you being that woman.
We appreciate you. Like I see, thumbs up. Everybody loves you. You give us life every single time, Christy, and give us things to work on every single time. I literally have a whole notebook just for Brunchin with Beauties, so I could always go back through, and really, because I wish that all my friends were on here, and I'm sure that you ladies that are on here right now, you feel the same way. Like, I wish all my girls were on here so they could like understand the path that I'm on. They don't have to think that I'm trying to be like better than them because I'm doing things differently. And it doesn't have to do anything with my career, but like the spiritual path and journey that we're all on right now. Imagine if all of our friends were in that same place with us too. Yeah. Because I do believe that we all that are on here, there's a struggle that you have with your friends that haven't become like awakened. Like, they don't really care about being the best version of themselves, And so this is so helpful for me, because I sometimes feel like a weirdo, like even my husband, it's crazy because my husband is like, you've changed so much since we got married. And he hasn't changed a ton. Like, he really hasn't. Like, I mean, my husband's cousin's like, he is who he is. And I know his love for me. I know what he's going to do all the time. But I really am a completely different person from who I was 7.5 years ago. I mean, like, I've always had like a given heart and stuff, but the way that my mind works, when I say it's drastically different. And so when he said that, I'm like, it almost made me feel bad for a second, because I'm like, if we have any arguments or fights or whatever, I can literally sit back and say, like, this is his norm and you're the one that's changed. So that's going to happen with our friends.
Yes.
So that's why I wish that like all of the people that hold an important part in my life, like I feel like one day I want to open this up to men. Just like one Sunday, I want us to like open it up to all the men that are close in our lives too, because it would be awesome for them to hear the way that we think. Like my boys are like, we want a guy's day, but they don't want to talk about the same stuff as us half the time. So I'm really contemplating opening this up one Sunday and saying, get your top 5 guys that are most important in your life on here so they can understand the way that we're thinking.
That is such a great idea, especially because it's Men's Month. It's like Men's Health Month coming and Father's Day coming in June.
We're doing it.
That would be.
We're doing it. Definitely. So thank you. You always bring me back to feeling like, girl, you're on the right path. Like, it's okay to keep changing along the way. And, you don't want to lose your best friends, because it's your best friends, but people evolve and they change along the way. So ladies, like, you now have a community of people that are on that same path with you. Thank you, Christy.
So
appreciate you, girl.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to mention one thing about growing with your friends. Some people will grow with you and you may outgrow others, and it's okay. Right? Because people are brought into your life for a reason, a season, and a lifetime. And eventually, kind of what that is. It's hard for us to let go of those who are only supposed to be in our lives for a season, and we want them to be in for a lifetime. So, especially to my single women who do want to get married, is make sure that you are marrying a man that can grow into the full capacity of who you are. That's a big one. Because if he can't grow it with you into your full capacity, then you're going to be very disappointed. And that's a really difficult space in marriage. But I would love to connect with you ladies. If you're not on Wife Wisdom on Instagram, please do. And the Wife Wisdom podcast comes out every Monday. And you can see it on iTunes or Spotify, Wife Wisdom with Christy Littlejones.
And it's awesome, by the way. Like, you can go back and listen to stuff over and over and over again. It'll give you everything that you need. So you've lived up to your status of get your life right. Thank you, Christy, for getting this together. Right? Got us all the way where we needed to be. Guys, I'm going to do a brief segment really quick from the business perspective. So most of us are in home-based businesses. And if you're not, that doesn't mean you can't listen. You know, your friend might have invited you to a home-based business before. You might have been turned off by home-based businesses before, but I'm going to give some like mentorship from somebody that's been in a home-based business now for almost 8 years. You know, for those of you guys that have no idea of like what some of us on here do, we're in an industry that is not like welcomed by everybody, wasn't welcomed by everybody. I'll say wasn't, because now more people are definitely open to having a home-based business or a network marketing company that they're affiliated with. And, you know, I had never done network marketing, never interested in network marketing, been in sports my entire life. And that's kind of where I was and found myself in a different place in life where I became open and thankful to the growth of our team and our organization. You know, we got to the top level of our company, which is super cool to be able to do it, but it came with so many different lessons along the way. And so I was sitting there thinking like, well, what can I talk about? Because it's the end of mental health awareness. And when you join a home-based business, you go crazy for a little bit. So your mental health ends up being a little bit off for a second. And I went through some things that I wasn't prepared for mentally. And I just kind of wanted to talk to you guys about that really quickly. And, you know, hopefully this sheds some light as to where you are and where you're going. See, I'm the type of person, so you guys know, I'm the type of person that does not like surprises at all. I want to know what it looks like. And if it's the worst, I'm straight. Just let me know that's what it is. So like, you know, like how people like suspenseful movies. When I tell you my heart is like beating out of my chest because I'm like, just tell me what's going to happen, yo. Like, don't try to, I don't like that, right? So when I got into the world of like network marketing, a home-based business, I was surprised multiple times by different things. And so I'm going to talk to you guys about how to keep your mental together and to avoid some of the burnout that you may receive from network marketing or home-based business, or maybe even just an entrepreneurship in general. And so there's 6 things that I'm going to like talk about, and I'm going to tell you the 6 things and I'll go through them really quickly. 1 is expectations. 2 is creating goals. 3 is time and space boundaries. 4 is everyone runs their own race. 5 is creating a schedule. And 6 is remind yourself why you started. So these are 6 things that, like, when I think back, I'm like, man, if I understood all of these, number 1, we could have moved a lot faster, but I would have had less frustration. So number 1, expectations. Everybody expects to be a millionaire when they start their home-based business, network marketing business, whatever, like in their first like 2 to 3 years. That's just like natural. We're like, oh, it's moving. I'm about to make $1 million. Things are going. So you overestimate what's going to happen in your first 2 to 3 years, and you underestimate what will happen in year 5 through 10. Now that's like something you're like, 5 years, whoa. But I want you to understand that everything is a compounded effort. And there are some people that like go super fast at the beginning, and then some people that kick in just a little bit later in the race. Right? So like even in sports, like if you think of somebody that is running the 400 meters, that's like the 1 lap around the track, right? That's one of the hardest races to do, because some people like to sprint out the gate, but then when they get to, it's 400 meters, when they get to 300, they hit a wall that they can't do anything. And it'll be the person that was in last place that ends up being in first. Has anybody ever seen stuff like that? Okay, that's literally how this works. Right? It's so weird. Like you hit walls in different places. And so you've got to teach yourself to have healthy expectations. So when you start your home-based business, whether you're in one now or not, whether you're thinking about getting into one, or you're even just doing a business, you've got to have like, understand who you are. So you can't compare yourself to the person that got you started. Okay, it's so important to understand that they might be the person that runs 1,000,000 miles an hour. Maybe that's not you, right? So you've got to create your own expectations for yourself and understand who you are, and know that whenever you start a company, there's some people that start further along on the football field and they're closer to getting a touchdown than you. They just start at that place. So you've got to understand that. That was huge for me. I needed to understand my own expectations of myself. Guys, I'm a complete and total overachiever all the time. Like that's just like my natural state. I want to win. I want to be the best. I want to do all of that. And what I found was that it led to multiple burnouts in my network marketing business. I said multiple. I've been in for 8 years. I've had multiple burnouts, you know, and I will tell you that some people quit because of the burnout. So I'm just telling you, set healthy expectations for yourself, okay? Number 2, create goals. Now, I'm a different kind of goal setter. So some people like to create goals that are like, do your 5-year goal. Okay, I need like a 1-month goal. I'm the type of person that I need to break it down small, because when you do it way too big, I start thinking about how long it takes. And Christy, you said something that like I just didn't even realize about myself. Like, I'm a hard worker, but I've always been this person. High school, I finished in 3 years. So like I did all the classes that I needed to do. And then my last year, it was just BS classes, just so like it was like extra study halls. I did everything because I like to just hurry up and get it done. When I went to college, I finished early. Like I had 1 year left, but it was all independent studies because I crammed everything in, because that's how I am. When I would go to class, guys, I would get my syllabus. I would do all of the work in my first 2 weeks. I'm not the process girl. Like I'm just, when you said that, I'm like, that's me. I want to get this thing done. That is just how I am. So when you said you've got to enjoy this process, it makes sense as to why I have to do short-term goals. Guys, don't ever make somebody make you feel bad because you don't have long-term crazy goals. Like, I get it. Like, I'm not the girl that, you know, everybody's like envisioned like a huge mansion their whole life. And that wasn't me, but I was okay with knowing what my goals were. And I would look at my goals. So set, if it's got to be weekly, maybe monthly goals is too big for you. Set your weekly goals, get good at crushing those weekly goals, then you can start expanding further out. So creating your goals is huge. Time boundaries. I had 0. So I did this one and with my network marketing or home-based business, I did it whenever it fit into my life. Like literally I would squeeze it in. Even times where there was no time, I would just squeeze it all in. And what I realized was I taught people that I had no boundaries. And so I got burnt out, not because like I was having a problem squeezing it in, but people knew that I squeezed it in so much that they're like, it don't matter what she's doing, she'll make it work for us. That is the number one way for you to burn out. You have to create time boundaries within yourself and with your team, and don't feel bad about it. Now that's hard for me because I feel blessed that we got to the top level of the company. And so like, I want to be available for everybody all the time because I want them to get there. But then I have to have the times where I sit back and say, nobody was there like that for me. And that's just being 100. Nobody was doing all the things that I was doing for me. I just figured it out. And so if you want to create people that are like you, you have to let some people go through things too. So having time boundaries is very important. And I did not do a very good job of instilling that. And I'm like just slowly starting to learn to get back into that. Like I used to take a day where I was like, all right, this is going to be just my day where you can't talk to me about anything that has to do with the home-based business. And I would feel so bad because people would call me and I'm like, this is the one day that they're ready to work. And then I'm like, yeah, but I need me too. And if I let people know that like my day doesn't matter, they'll never care about my day. And then I'm going to get frustrated and irritated with them later. So time boundaries. Number 4, everybody runs their own race. As you guys have friends and family members that get started with you, if you want to maintain relationships with them, because you'll have people that you work with that weren't your friends and family members before. And so it's easier to push those individuals, just so you know. The people that are closest to you, it's so hard for you to push them and motivate them and talk to them the way that you want to talk to them because they're too close and they know you too well. And so like some people get so frustrated because their friends and family members don't do this with them. It might really be your biggest blessing. Because the closer people are to you, and we talked about the judging thing, you start judging their time and the things that they're doing. Like, you got time to do this? Like, because you're seeing it too much, you know, just too much. And so you've got to remind yourself that everybody runs their own race and everybody is in this for themselves. So as much as people tell you what they want and they tell you like the goals that they have, it doesn't mean that they have what it takes to go get them right now, and you can't be frustrated by that. Burnout. I've wanted things for people so bad and done extra for people so bad that when they decided to take 3 days off, I'm frustrated because I'm like, you said you wanted this and I'm sitting here working for you. And I had to come back and regroup and remind myself, this is their race and their paycheck. As much as we want to do this together and as much as it's a family and their team, I'm paying my own mortgage and I'm not paying theirs. So they decide not to do this, that's okay. And so knowing that everybody runs their own race helps. Creating a schedule for yourself. Now, I'm not just talking about a schedule within your business, I'm talking about a schedule for your life. So this is something else that I needed to work on. I needed to put in call my mom time. I needed to put in husband time. I needed to put in daughter time. I needed to put in workout time. I needed to put in no phone time. So like, you know, like how sometimes people are like, you know, as an entrepreneur, you need to get up at 7 a.m. and you need to be working. Guys, that's not me. I'm just telling you, like right now, I've been very successful in life. That's not me though. And I'm never going to make me feel bad about, I'm going to sleep during that time. So at 7 a.m. that's when other people get up, I'm sleeping because that's how Hadi operates. And my first hour and a half to 2 hours a day are really for me. I'm not answering calls or not doing stuff. So if you text me, I used to feel so bad. Like I got to text everybody back. And I'm like, if I don't text you back, you'll be okay. You can text again. Your fingers still work. But you have to get yourself to the point where you create your schedule and don't move from it. Just because like there's somebody that's like, this is their only time they're available. Hey, you're gonna have to work with somebody else today to do that. Like I had to do that yesterday. So yesterday, so I'm Muslim, just so you guys all know. So I'm Muslim and, you know, I fasted for Ramadan. So no food or water during the day, 30 days, still doing everything that you got to do during the day. And this is the first time I've been around anybody. So for those that are close to me, they know I wasn't leaving the house. I'm not playing around with what's going on outside. So I came to my sister's house yesterday. I was with my family the whole day. And there was multiple events that happened like within our organization. Our organization is growing very fast. And it was so hard for me to be like, hey, I'm not going to do everything with everybody right now. But I realized that I worked my ass off to get to the place that I'm at so I could have full days of family time. And you guys should do the same thing. And so I'm not telling you when that needs to be or how it needs to look like, but I created the schedule of this is going to be a family day and no matter what, I'm not moving from it. Don't shift from that. Guys, I didn't do that for my first multiple years, you know, and I know that at the beginning of you starting a business, you do need to build a foundation, guys. And this is talking about entrepreneurship, not just home-based business. And there are going to be some lines that are blurred. You need to know how long they'll be blurred because you might lose the most important people in your life because you allow them to be blurred for too long, right? And so create that schedule and stick to it. As hard as it is, and that's hard for me, like as hard as it is, you just got to go ahead and do it. So whether it's like the time that you're supposed to go to bed, if it's the time that you're going to pick your phone up, if it's the time that you're just going to be with your family and you got to put the phone up, whatever it is, create that schedule. And last but not least, remind yourself why you got started with whatever it is that you do. You got to keep reminding yourself. So as I've built this, you know, I've had waves of like leadership that have disappointed me. And some of it was like because of personal relationships. So I'll tell you guys that the best part about, you know, network marketing, home-based businesses is the group of people that you get to meet along the way and, you know, the relationships that you create. But I also want you guys to know this. There's going to be a lot of people that come into your life that weren't meant to stay in your life. Okay. And they're going to come into your life and they're going to be working your business with you. And they might work your business with you for some months and maybe even a couple of years. But then they might show up to be who they were from the beginning that you didn't see because you were pushing for business. And you might lose that friendship along the way. And I could like cry thinking about this actually because a couple of different times, let me see, somebody's phone is on, so let me go ahead and mute it. So a couple of times, and I don't even know, like maybe a couple people on our team know this, but a couple of times of building this business, what happened to me personally was I had people like betray me, like horribly. And my husband is very different than me. So like, I'm like, everybody come over, you can hang out at my house or we can stay at my house. And my husband is like, I don't know them like that. They're not staying over here. No, it's not happening. So I would introduce certain people to him. And for those of you guys that know me very well, my husband's not around a lot of people. And so he will point out people to me and be like, she ain't your friend. And I'd be like, you don't know her, because we come from different backgrounds. So I'm like, you just don't know her. You know, you're not, you don't understand where she's come from. And he would tell me, listen, there are some people that are here for a reason. Let them keep in that reason and don't try to blur the lines and now become best friends with everybody. You don't have to be best friends with everybody as you build this business or any business that you have. And that's very uncomfortable because you care about people. But you've got to know that they came in this for their own reason, not for you. You came in this for your own reason, not for them. And if things that are really awesome come from it, that's cool. But don't go looking for that. Because you can end up looking for friendships and people that you're going to be around, and they were really here just to build your business with you and keep it moving. So from a leadership perspective, I'm going to say this, like, just be aware, you know, and I know this is not the warm fuzzy that you guys want to hear, but this is me telling you from somebody that's had over 7,000 people that have come into the group that we've been building. I've had people steal from me, lie to me, do all sorts of crazy things. That's business though. And I'm telling you guys all these things because I wish somebody would have told me. Because had I understood that, I would have just carried people just a little bit different, just so I knew. And I would force people to show me who they were instead of me trying to force them to be great people. Does that make sense? Like, you gotta let people show you who they are instead of you trying to say, like, we're gonna make you the best version of you. And so I wanted to leave that with you guys because I really almost quit building my business, like completely quit multiple times. And probably right before I went on the run to hit the top level of our company, I was done. Like, when I say done, I wasn't gonna like quit because I was still getting a check. But when I say I was completely like, I don't ever want to be around certain people. And I realized that the reason I got there was because of buildup of all those things that I said. I didn't set no boundaries. I thought people were my friends, but they were really just my business partners. So I started feeling a certain kind of way, like somebody didn't invite me to their birthday party, but I had just made them so much freaking money. It made me feel a way like, God, you really don't care about me at all. But I had to just realize, you're my business partner, yo. If you went to work and your coworker didn't invite you to their birthday party, you're not tripping. You're like, oh, it's cool. But when you get into this, you're immersed into a culture of like all these people that you're like, we're all supposed to be family. And yes, it's awesome if you can be, but if you're not, guess what? You guys came here for business. And you got to become economically empowered through this time, right? And so I wanted to make sure I did that because I hope that all of you ladies, like, I know if you are in a home-based business or you have your own side business, I know that you could be phenomenal, but I know because we are emotional beings that we can get taken out of it very easily. And it's so important that you keep grounding yourself because for me personally, the best decision that I've made as emotionally and spiritually and financially has been the home-based business that we're in. And, you know, it has come with the craziest things along the way, but it's also taught me so much about myself. Like, it's allowed me to persevere and allows me to shine in a way that I didn't know was possible. I said all of this stuff so you guys could do the same. And maybe it's not this home-based business that you're in right this second. Maybe it's another one that you're going to be in later. Nobody wants to hear me say this stuff, but I'm talking to you guys like I want somebody to talk to me. I want you guys to find the thing that pushes you to be great, but I want you to balance yourself along the way because if your mental is gone, you're gone. All right, so we're going to switch gears into these phenomenal ladies, and they're going to speak for a bit. We're going to be late, so if you guys have to get off, then you'll get off. But we're going to be later today because there's a couple of ladies that I'm going to have them share, and they're going to bless us in multiple different ways. So they're going to talk about your emotional health, mental health, meditation, yoga, all the things that we truly need for us to be grounded. And these two ladies are a tag team duo today, but I'll say this. Christy, Erica, as well as Keena, I actually met them all through somebody else that I met in our home-based business. It's a guy, his name is Keith. And he has found a way to attract phenomenal women into his life. And, you know, for me, I'm always looking to find other women that can complete me in ways that I'm not whole, right? And so these two young ladies are there. Like, I haven't got on my meditation journey completely or my yoga journey, and I'm slowly getting into my nutrition journey. And these two young ladies have mastered it because of the things that they've gone through in their lives. So they didn't come out of the womb saying, hey, I'm healthy. No, Like they literally worked on themselves every single day to become better versions of themselves and have perfected it. They're complete and total professionals. They both have outstanding careers outside of this, backgrounds outside of this. But what I love about them is that the two of them together, they're literally a tandem. You're like, dang, if you got one, you got the other. One will get you right. And then she's like, now go over here. So it's like the icing on the cake. Like one's a cake, then it's icing, right? So some people like icing more than cake, but you need both. Okay, these two young ladies are going to be able to bless us. So between Erica as well as Kina, they're trainers, well, from nutrition and fitness to yoga and meditation. They're actually the reason that my close friend Keith has now gone into a plant-based lifestyle, and it truly saved his life. Like literally reversed cancer cells, reverse high cholesterol, reverse so many things in his life that he wouldn't have been able to beat if it wasn't for these ladies. And so without further ado, I want to introduce you to Miss Erica and Kina, who are both going to be tag teaming today so that you guys can hear from them. So Erica and Kina, I'm going to have you guys hop on and mute yourselves. I don't know who's going first, how you guys want to do this, but just know that you guys are going to be blessed with some jewels. Make sure you have your notebooks ready and you're prepared to live a better version of your life. So let's go, ladies.
Hey. Woo. Okay now. I know, right? Okay. So one thing I did want to say before we get started, there is, I had this thought earlier, and it's consciousness of quantity impacts generosity and collaboration. So consciousness of quantity impacts generosity and collaboration. And the reason why I say that is because if you are thinking in a poverty mindset, your consciousness of quantity will be limited, where you're thinking, oh, there's only a little bit enough to go around. So the level of generosity and collaboration is limited because you're operating under a poverty mindset. But when you have a prosperity or an abundant mindset, your consciousness of quantity, you're thinking like, wow, there's enough for all of us to be able to win. So your ability to be generous and share and collaborate is magnitude. So that's kind of what you're seeing here with Hadi and Christy, and also Kina and I, because we're both in the same place, but because we have a prosperity mindset, an abundance mindset, we're able to help and support each other. So I just wanted to plant that seed, because people always talk about how we can't work together, but look at us working together. All right, go ahead, Keith.
Yeah, and we just met like 3 months ago, 3-4 months. Well, no, I guess it's been longer. We met last year.
Absolutely.
But, you know, I guess what I wanted to say, how I kind of start off. First of all, Christy, thank you. And Hadiatu, thank you. The transparency that you guys get from Brunchin with Beauties is just it's just amazing. And I wanted to just kind of start off by sharing my story. So some of you all have kind of heard a little bit of my story, and when people see me or talk about me, you know, they talk about the fitness part and the yoga part, but I don't really go too deep, or haven't been able to go too deep into how I actually got to that place. And so with this being the end of Mental Health Awareness Month, I want to kind of talk to you about my own personal journey and struggle with depression and anxiety. And so when we talk about mental health, people automatically think that it, like, you go to like the far end of the spectrum of like schizophrenia, and not in all of, you know, those things. And they're all serious in their own right. But some people don't consider depression and their levels to depression as well as a mental illness. But we go through so many things in life, and when you don't deal with them, it actually leads to mental illness. And so for me, I've just made some notes so I didn't forget to share these things with you. You know, I grew up in a single parent household, and my mom and I are from Chicago, and my mom had experienced a number of traumas at a very young age. So her mother, her father was abusive to her mom, and her mother became handicapped at the age of 20. And so to this day, my grandmother is now 78. She's not had full functionality of her entire right side since she was 20 years old. My grandmother gave birth to my mom and my uncle 11 months apart, but being disabled, she wasn't able to care for her kids. Their father didn't want them, so when my grandmother moved back to Mississippi, he sent the kids, told them they were going to visit their grandmother for a summer, and left them down there for 7 years. And then they ended up living with their mom and grandparents, and that was a whole nother conversation for another time, but they ended up running away. So they climbed out of the window and snuck over to a pastor's house and took a bus back to Chicago. And they were always kind of in flux. They were like the kids that nobody wanted and didn't really know anything, right? So they were city kids that, you know, didn't know city ways, and kids in the country that were, you know, from the city kind of thing. But I say all that to say that in the Black community, and specifically in the way that my mom was raised, you don't talk about what you go through. Like, what goes on in the house stays in the house, right? Or you talk to your pastor about it. So then fast forward to me personally, you know, I ended up experiencing some very similar traumas that my mother went through, and very similar traumas that my grandmother went through. And I found myself, after playing professional basketball, after graduating from college, after doing some amazing things, in a very abusive relationship. And I'm proud to be able to say that I'm a survivor of that, because he did, in fact, not only try and kill me, but try and kill our unborn child. And I'm happy to say that my 15-year-old son is a product of that relationship. So I wouldn't change anything about it, because I am happy that he is here. But there were quite a few things that I experienced personally that I had to get through. And what happens with life sometimes is that you go through something and you never really have time, or you never really take the time to deal with that issue, and then the next issue comes. And you take time to deal with that, and then the next issue comes. And you find yourself suppressing everything. And then when you add on motherhood, you don't even feel like you have time to deal with an issue, because now you have to be responsible for an entire human being, right? That's not yourself. And so for me, I found myself going through experiencing these very traumatic and or toxic things in relationships, but never really dealing with them, never getting to the root issue, never doing the work about what was it about me that I kept like attracting similar situations, right? And so, you know, again, like I said, I grew up in the church. I come from a line of pastors, and it was like, you go to church and you lay it all on the altar, right? You give it to Jesus, but you don't go to therapy. Like, therapy was taboo. And, you know, you could talk to the pastor about it. So the pastor would know your business. Everybody in church would know your business, but a therapist could not know your business. And I remember saying to my mom, like, you can have Jesus and a therapist, right? And she's like, nope, give it to the Lord. And so, you know, for a long time, for 35 years of my life, that was my life. Kept going to church trying to figure out, well, how come these things keep happening? And I'm giving it to God, but I'm still dealing with, I haven't dealt with all of the stuff that keeps coming up. And so I thought that, you know, by, you know, kind of getting my body to look a certain way, then, you know, maybe that would help. And so I did bodybuilding, and, you know, I've done all of those things. I've done a lot with my life. I've modeled, I've done acting, the whole nine. And I was happy doing those things, but I wasn't healthy doing those things. And I definitely wasn't healed doing those things. And so I realized at 35, I sought out a therapist, and I started going to therapy because I needed to work through a number of issues. And then I came to realize that some of my closest family members, my mom included, were some of the most toxic relationships that I was having. So I couldn't even see clearly enough to work on me, because I was constantly being surrounded by folks that hadn't done their own work. So you sometimes have to be careful about getting advice from people that haven't done their own work, because they are projecting onto you what they see in themselves, or what they wish they could do or wish they could be. And I was internalizing all of that, still trying to be a mom. So I never dealt with any of those issues. And I got to a place where I found a sense of peace in yoga, right? It just was, I can't describe it. It's just a sense of peace that came because I had to go through a process. And Christy talked about learning to love the journey, right? And yoga is about, it's not about a pose per se, but it's about learning to enjoy and experience and the uncomfortable stuff that you don't like and things that come up, but experience the journey of getting into your body. The pose is just to help you get into your body. That's never the end destination, right? And so there are all these life lessons that you learn on your yoga mat that really apply the moment that you walk out of a yoga class. But I, you know, started going to yoga and, you know, started dealing with some things. And then I was in a 5-year relationship and it ended. And I kind of saw it coming, but I was surprised that it happened. And I slipped into a very deep depression in 2017. And in 2017, I didn't clean. So here's what depression could look like, right? You're not always walking around sad. On the outside looking in, people thought I was doing great. You know, I had a 6-figure job. You know, I had a kid that was an amazing athlete. I had, you know, a business that I was running. I had a whole lot of great things going on, but that was on the outside. On the inside, if you came to my house, you could only go so far in my home because the rest of it wasn't clean. And it was difficult for me to just do the bare necessities that were needed, right? So I could, as long as the living room and the kitchen and my son's room and his bathroom were clean and he had everything that he needed, the rest of the house is like, I don't even care. And so in my room, I cleaned my bathroom. That's all I had like the capacity to do. But for whatever reason, it was really hard to just take off clothes and put them in the laundry basket. Or when I wash the clothes, take them out the dryer and fold them and put them away. That was too much. It was enough to just be able to wash and dry. And, you know, or, you know, I could clean the bathroom, but something about hanging up clothes when you take them off was just too much. And that's just me being very transparent about sometimes when you don't deal with the stuff and you let it just fester and you just keep packing it and pushing it down, something happens and it snaps and then you can't see your way clearly. And it's like you're trying to climb out of this dark something and you don't know what it is. And so for me, I had to, and I have a soul squad, what I call my soul squad. So I've got a therapist, and then my loctician is, you know, also like a little mini therapist as well. And then, you know, and I have a friend across the pond who also acts like that for me. And so the 3 of us, or technically 4 of us together, are mirrors for each other. And so I had to get a soul squad. And these are people that, you know, could practice empathy with me and meet me where I was to help me get out of a particular space. So, you know, cleaning my room was really, really hard, but here's how I had to start. So sometimes when you're overwhelmed by things, because it created a level of anxiety for me, like, okay, there's a lot of shit I gotta get done, right? I'm sorry, y'all, I'm sorry, I have a potty mouth. It's gonna slip, it's who I am, okay? But it's like, just have a lot of stuff to get done, and you're trying to figure out, where do I even start, right? Because some people say, you know, okay, well, declutter your space. Well, the whole damn space is cluttered, so where do I start, right? So I had to start with one corner of my room, right? And I literally looked in that one corner and I said, okay, I'm gonna dedicate whatever time it takes for this one corner. And I literally started purging from that one corner. And it took like 3 hours, and I was mentally drained from that one corner. I stopped after that. I sat still. I was like, I need a nap. I took the nap. I woke up. I meditated a little bit, and like, okay, that's cool. I don't have any more capacity for uncluttering my space, but that was enough. And that's kind of how you have to approach life when it comes to your mental health. You have to go one corner at a time. If you try and hit the mental, the physical, the emotional, the spiritual, the financial, all at the same time, it's overwhelming as hell, right? And you see people that, you know, don't let the internet fool you. It is hard to do one thing at a time, let alone trying to literally do it all at once. And you might even be looking at yourself and saying, okay, I need to detox. I need to detox every aspect of my life. And that probably is true, but guess what? You can't do it all at the same time. So I started with just detoxing my space, my physical space. And so I learned something very interesting about myself, that I actually hate clutter. That's why it was so hard for me to declutter my space and clean my space, because I hated it so much. I'm like, I don't even want to go in my room. Like, I'll just go in the living room. I'll just sleep on the couch. It was too much to take in. So if you ever were to come to my home now, it's like, it's pristine, but it took a long time to get to that place. I hate clutter. Everything has to have its own place and be in its place and that kind of thing. But it took me a while to get there. Same thing goes for your physical, right? So I realized that in order to be able to heal myself, I was going to have to address, you know, the mental space, but I had to address the physical space, and I had to get my head right. And I couldn't be around people that triggered me one way or another, because I was still trying to learn about my own personal triggers. And a lot of times you don't even know what your triggers are. So, you know, part of self-care, you know, it's pretty to say, you know, I'm going to get my nails done, I'm going to get my toes done, you get a massage, like all that, that's like the surface piece of mental health and, you know, like self-care. That's up here. But you got to get down to the dirty stuff, right? The shadow side, the dark side, the stuff that you don't want to face. That's the piece that you really have to deal with. And so in dealing with that, that's where you start learning about your triggers. When things happen, you have to look and see, where does it show up in your body, right? So I'm very transparent about stuff. My mom and I are much better now, but there was a point in time where talking to her made my chest tight. It made my stomach knot up, because we just couldn't get there. We just never. We were always like this. But I had to stop and say, what is it about my interaction with this person, right, that is showing up in my body that's making me feel or act a certain way? And let me push back. Let me create a space and a boundary around myself so that I can really kind of figure this out. Because it wasn't always her. Kina hadn't dealt with some of the, you know, issues that I had, you know, experienced in my life. And so there was something about what she was doing or saying to me that was triggering old stuff, right? Just old stuff. So it wasn't always her. Sometimes it's me. Sometimes it's you, right? It's not always everybody else. Sometimes there's something in you that you haven't healed that is showing up, and then you're acting out because of it. And so that's part of doing the work, right? So once you start identifying those triggers, now you're able to start working on your mental space. And in that, creating boundaries, you have to be okay with saying no. You have to be okay with, because in my life now, no is a complete sentence. I don't even give explanations at this point. Nope, not available. Nope, don't have time. Nope, don't have the emotional capacity. But again, it took me time to get to that place. Thankful for my therapist. So transitioning from, you know, the decluttering of like my home, decluttering of my mind, I had to start looking at my food and my nutrition. And again, at this point, I'm still a personal trainer. I'm teaching other people how to live healthy lives, right? How to work out in the gym and all of that. But was I truly being authentic? No, because I wasn't doing it myself, right? I can teach you how to get the body that you want, right? There are no shortcuts with me, though. I'll say that. Right? We're gonna go the whole journey, but I couldn't help my clients heal from the mental and emotional perspective. I could help them get the body, but sometimes you trying to get the body is more so about dealing with what's going on in the mind. And so I had to do that work. So I started detoxing. I detoxed my physical space. I detoxed my physical body. And here's the thing about nutrition, which is so important, that your nutrition, the food that you eat, literally impacts your mental health. Okay. Think about it. When you're pregnant, for those that are moms, they tell you, be careful what you eat because it impacts the health of the baby. If you're breastfeeding, they tell you be careful what you're eating because your baby's going to ingest that and take all of that in. So if that's true for that space in that time period of your life, why is it that you think that at 30 and at 40, you know, or even at 25, that what you eat doesn't matter? It all matters. It matters what you eat. It matters who you date, who you give your body to. All of that stuff impacts your mental health. Okay, so you take your womb, right? Your womb is your sacred space. And I'm not a very religious person, but I'm highly spiritual. So let's talk about this for a second, because all of us are divine beings, right? You have divine divinity in you. And if you are not treating your body like the goddess temple that it is, it will not work for you, okay? It will shut down and it will show up in a number of different ways. Definitely in the mental space, definitely in the physical space. Your womb being the most sacred space on your body as a female. The word for it is yoni, okay? And yoni is your sacred space. Why we let any old Tom, Dick, and Harry penetrate that sacred space and not realize that it impacts the mental space, I do not know. But if you ever look at the picture of a placenta, it looks like the tree of life, all right? So the placenta itself is like this, I don't know, it's like a sack, right? And from it are all of these little veins that kind of sprout out like tree branches. And then there's one long, thicker vein, and that's what connects the umbilical cord from the mother to the baby. I have a picture on it on my social media, but when you look at that, it looks like the tree of life. Why? Because we are the only beings that can create life, right? Life comes from you. You get to create it. So if you are not taking care of your physical body, what kind of life, one, are you living? But you can't even create it, right? So there's so many things that go into mental health that we don't even think about. And then the food that you're eating leads to, I'm sorry, Erica, you want to jump in, girl? Just jump in whenever, because I can talk all day long. Okay. But the food that you're eating, if you're not eating whole, complete foods, lack the nutrients that your body needs, right? So just not even getting that stuff in contributes to poor health, and that will then contribute to things like anxiety and depression and bipolar disorder and ADHD. I mean, like, think about it. ADHD is not something people are born with. I'm sorry, they're not. It's in the food that you're feeding your kids. It's in the chemicals that are in the foods. It's in the coloring, like that yellow number 5 and all of that stuff. The coloring, that's the stuff that leads to these other mental illnesses. So that's why nutrition becomes so incredibly important as it relates to your mental health. So you got to detox your physical space. And again, take it a little bit at a time, just like life. Don't let it overwhelm you. That's where the anxiety comes in, right? So depression is about focusing on things that have already happened and you're holding on to it. So attachment leads to suffering. That's something I say all the time. Attachment leads to suffering. Holding on to things that are past their time keeps you in a depressed state. Worrying about things that have not even happened, a minute from now, 5 days from now, 5 years from now, that keeps you in a state of anxiety. So learning to be present in this moment and experience this exactly as it is, as it's happening, keeps your mental space clear. And I learned that through my yoga practice. So I'm gonna pause there. I'm gonna let Erica jump in.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Well, this is the perfect segue because you spoke about nutrition and the importance of nutrition. And one thing that we have to keep in mind. So, and just to kind of give you a really quick backstory. So the women in my family, many of them have had to have partial hysterectomies or full hysterectomies. So when you talk about understanding your family and the trauma and everything that you're working through, I was determined not to have to get a hysterectomy. So that was the reason why I changed my eating habits and started eating like more plant-based and taking care of myself and making sure that while yes, I can help people and I can support people, but I have to make sure I take care of myself, because the pattern with the women in my family, we're always taking care of people. It's like we're the go-to person. We're dealing with our own stress. We're not taking the time to do that. So for me, I was like, you know what? It stops here. We're not doing diabetes. We're not doing high blood pressure. We're not snatching out wombs, because as Kina mentioned, your womb is a powerhouse. Like, your womb is so important. And the things that they do when they take it, that's a whole nother conversation that we won't get into today. But I will focus on the health piece and the importance of digestion, because when you are stressed, your body moves the blood from your digestive tract to your extremities. Because what happens is there are three brains, and I made sure I made notes on this. So your first brain is like the brain stem and the cerebellum. The second brain is like your midbrain, and it deals with fight, flight, feeding, and fornicating, right? And the third brain is your neocortex, so it more so deals with awareness and creativity. But if we're thinking about the second brain, needed to run away, your body is going to immediately send all of the blood to your extremities so that you can run and get away. But the problem with us today is that we're creating scenarios in our brain, and our brain doesn't know whether something is real or if it's like imagined. So if you are thinking like, oh my God, my boss is coming over here, it's like your body is stressing out. Your body is pulling the blood. It's like sending the blood to your extremities, to your legs and your arms. And what's happening with that, it leads to things like constipation, acid reflux, ulcers, just because of something that you're imagining in your brain. So as Kina's saying, the importance of eating healthy foods, if you're constantly stressed, you're going to have poor digestion. So you may not even be able to digest the healthy foods that you're eating. So it's important for you to do things that help you to manage your stress, because if you don't, it's counterproductive. And also, oftentimes we end up operating in the sympathetic nervous system. And there's the sympathetic nervous system that deals with fight or flight. And then there's the parasympathetic nervous system, which deals with relaxation. So Kina, she's going to walk us through like some yoga exercises today. And that's going to help you get into that parasympathetic nervous system. Because if you're always in the sympathetic, where you're like, oh my God, Corona, oh my God, I'm gonna get the coronavirus, you know, all of these other things, then it just weighs heavily on your nervous system, and it impacts your health. It impacts your mental health, like your physical health and your mental health. And also statistically, our bodies are made up of between 70 to 80% water. Now, there is this wonderful book that I just want to share with y'all really quickly. It's called Hidden Messages in Water. So if your body is made up of 70 to 80% water, then we want to be careful about what we're saying. Christy earlier, she talked about negative self-talk. And when she talked about negative self-talk, it really has an impact on how our bodies function and how our bodies operate. So I just want to show you this really quickly about the power of words. And you can look this up. It's Dr. Emoto. You can see it here. You can look this up. People do experiments where they actually put words on cooked rice to see how long it remains fresh and, you know, how long it deteriorates. But this is love and gratitude. What they did, they actually took water and put it in a petri dish and they froze it to see how it shows up. Now, this is love and gratitude, but what I wanted to do was show you what it looks like if it's exposed to like television, right? So this is, wait, see how this, it's really scattered. So, and this is this showing you the harmful effects of electromagnetic waves. But this book is just really cool, is really insightful about how music has an impact on water. And if your body is made up of water, we really have to be mindful about the way that we communicate with ourselves. So I just wanted to kind of hop in and talk a little bit about the importance of not only the thoughts that we're thinking, but also how we are understanding that our body doesn't know if something is real or imagined. And if you are stressed out, and I definitely understand right now with everything that's going on, it's easy to be stressed out. It's important for us to adopt a practice, whether it's yoga, meditation, to make sure that we're moving out of that sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight, right, into the parasympathetic, where we're relaxed and we're more conscious and we can make decisions with blood flowing properly through our body. The name of the book is The Hidden Messages in Water.
I love that book.
Right?
Yeah, it's such a good book. And, you know, if you want to test it out, like really test it out real time, talk to your plants. So my son laughs at me because I give positive affirmations to my plants. And the thing is, I have a couple of plants. I love statement plants, like big plants. And I have one, a sensation peace lily that sits over in the corner. And I named her me. So that's Kina, right? And she's big, she's expansive. I identified with this plant. I walked into the nursery and saw it and was like, that's what I want. And the lady was like, well, it's 100 and something. I didn't ask you how much it was. I just said I wanted it. And I don't need your help to lift it. I got it, right? So I just lifted it up. And I put my car and brought it home. Here's the thing, because every morning I get up, when I do my routine, like I say good morning to my plants. I'm like, hey, beautiful, how you doing? Da, 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 da. When she needs water and attention, she droops, right? And when I give her water, some positive affirmations, a little bit of love, she pops right back up. And it's just like us. When we don't give ourselves the attention that we need, the water that we need, whether you're watering your body, your mind, your spirit, the love, the positive affirmations that you need to be saying to yourself every single day, those things start to impact the body. And it shows up in a number of ways, but the number one way it shows up is dis-ease in the body, or disease in the body. And there's a book called You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. It is an absolute game changer. Like, I have a top 10 list of game changing books. And when I started my journey of therapy and really starting to work on Kina, that was the first book I read. And I read it, you read it all the way through one time, and then you go back through and you work it chapter by chapter. But what I loved about the book is that she, and God rest her soul, she's passed on, but Louise Hay's book, in the back, she has a list of every single ailment and dis-ease that you find in the body, and then the reason that you're experiencing it, and then the affirmation that you can say to reverse it. So I literally went through that book, and I went through every little thing that was popping up in my life, whatever it was. I wrote down the little affirmations on a Post-it note, and I stuck it on my mirror, and I had like 20 in my bathroom mirror. And I would say those every single day. And I tell you now, if I am experiencing anything in the body, I will go to that book and look at it, and then I start saying those affirmations. I'm telling you, within minutes to an hour, whatever I'm feeling is getting reversed. So that book is called You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. And that, like I said, that book was a game changer. Down to autoimmune diseases, right? And so autoimmune diseases are basically your own body is attacking its immune system, right? It's mistakenly attacking its immune system because of different triggers that are happening within the body. The book talks about that too. And then, learning how to eat for those specific things. But like I said, that book by far was one of the things that helped me kind of see, like, okay, there's a lot going on with the people around me, but I got to deal with the stuff that's going on with me. And I had to go back to like stuff that happened to me when I was little. See, part of mental illness is because of things that have gone untreated for long periods of time. And things that you might have experienced at a young age. For me, for example, my former pastor, when I was younger, inappropriately touched me at the church. And he was a huge bishop, a very, very, very prominent bishop in the AME Zion Church. And so nobody believed me. When I was 17, I was date raped by somebody that I knew and trusted. And told my mom, and she was like, "You were just being fast." I wasn't believed because, well, would it have happened if he let you in, if you didn't let him in the house, right? And so it was always you did something to cause something that happened to you. And so you hear enough of that. And in fairness to my mom, and this is the empathy part that I learned much later in life, but that was she was just repeating what was said to her when she went to her stepmother and told her the very same story. And so, when you get to this place of healing, you start to realize that you start to meet people, you have like this empathetic spirit, right? You can just be like, I recognize that you were doing the best that you could with what you had at the time. And then as you start to heal and you grow and you learn more, you're allowed to evolve. So I don't judge my mom now for who she was then, because she's decided to start working on her. No, she still wanted to be the same person, that'd be different. But I say all that to say, like, I went through quite a few things. When I was 21, I was playing professional basketball in Sweden and didn't even know I was pregnant, and I miscarried twins in the middle of the basketball season. And didn't deal with that. I was just like, oh, okay, that sucks, but I'm a professional athlete and I have to be on the court. So literally, this is my conversation with the doctor. He's like, you can't practice and you can't play games right now because you could get an infection and die. I'm like, no, I'm a professional athlete. They flew me over here. I have to be able to play ball. So what can I do? And we had to come up with a game plan. And I never gave myself time to grieve that. And you just, all of those things happening to me and me not taking the time to stop and feel the emotion and deal with that during that period is what led to me suffering from depression and anxiety. And to have that at the same time is like, I can't even tell you, because it's just like you're doing this and you're just like scared to be, and you just become numb. And so, you know, I want to challenge you all to take a step back and listen to yourself, because quite frankly, you already know some of the areas in your life that you want to address or that need to be addressed, or what some of your own triggers are. Here's how you can tell. When you interact with someone and you feel it physically in the body, that's when you take note of something. Okay, this was my experience with this person and it showed up in my body like this. And then start unpacking that, right? So, and then why? Because when, so Erica talked about stress, right? Stress showing up in the body. The body keeps score, okay? That's also a good book to read as well. The body keeps score. And what that means is that when you hold on to stuff, your body holds it. So when I teach yoga, I do a lot of hip opening stuff with women because we tend to hold our trauma and our stress and tension in our hips, right? And so when you do hip openers, sometimes you might just start crying and have no idea where this emotion is coming from. And it has nothing to do with the physical posture. It is simply because you are putting your body in a space to allow it to open, to release the things that are just keeping it from being able to grow. And so yoga, the practice of yoga gives you permission and full control, right? To be able to you're able to take control of your life and take control of your own healing. And that is why I am this huge advocate for yoga and meditation. It has nothing to do with religion or your religious beliefs. It is about the healing that you get from what you learn on your mat in a safe space. It's about being in a safe space, because I don't always feel safe talking about what I'm experiencing to other people, but I know that I can show up on my mat and that's a safe space for me. So as a yoga teacher, and I think Erica can piggyback on this, you know, we realize that it's our job. It's not our job to heal you. It's our job to create a space that allows you to feel comfortable enough to work on you to heal yourself. But we can't do that if we haven't gone through and done the healing for ourselves. I can't teach you how to do something I haven't done yet, right? Even as a coach, we can't lead you down a particular path or help you become the best version of you if we have not gone down that journey. And so, you know, when I met Erica, it was, I mean, we just hit it off. It was just like, oh yeah, girl, hey. You know, I mean, like, you would think we've known each other for years. We've known each other for like 6 months. But
You're right. We're like, retreat coming.
Yeah, we're planning all kinds of stuff for you guys. So, you know, it really is this space that I want to challenge you all to kind of set aside any fears or, I'll just say fears that you might have on what it is and what it isn't. And, you know, well, I don't have a yoga body, because you see these little thin, wiry girls on social media, right? Because that's not what yoga is. Yoga is about calming the fluctuations of your mind. See, if you can get control of what's going on in your mind, you can control anything, right? And that is what mental health is about, getting control of this, right? To be able to take care of everything else.
Absolutely.
You like going there?
I love that. Yeah, I love it. And also, I mean, because I too love yoga, because with me, it's just been dealing with trauma after trauma after trauma, like losing so many people. Like, again, I wasn't crazy about going to therapy either, because again, my family always said, you don't tell people your business. But it was through therapy that I realized that pretty much when I did a loss line, and I don't know if any of you have ever done this, but this is like a free therapy tip. But if you look at the entire span of your life, and, you know, as early as you can remember, write down the first time that you experienced loss, just so that you can get an idea of how much trauma, like, you're dealing with, how much loss that you could be grieving from, and you're not even aware of it. It was literally almost like every year I experienced some type of trauma. So yoga has definitely been helpful. Meditation has been helpful. I did a 10-day silent meditation retreat. Now, I'm not saying that you all have to do that, but to Keena's point, we did what we had to do so that we can show up for the people that we come in contact with, to provide them with the tools to help them get through. Like, you don't have to go super extreme. It's all about moderation and work and doing what works for you. But with yoga, deep breathing actually helps you to move into that parasympathetic nervous system that that I mentioned earlier. So when we talk about getting out of that fight or flight, just pause for a minute. If you're stressed out and you have a lot going on, just pause and practice deep breathing. If you can get to a yoga class, get to a yoga class. But your breath is a way for you to connect with calming your body so that you can think clearly. It's going to help with digestion, even before you eat. You know, I know my grandmother, she always like, you better pray before you eat your food, right? But that's also a great time for you to just pause and breathe deeply, so that if you were stressed because maybe you were cooking dinner for your entire family, that's a time for you to shift out of the sympathetic and into the parasympathetic so that you can calm your nerves and then digest the nourishing food that you're eating. But the other thing that I wanted to mention to you guys was neural nets. And I know this is another book, guys. I love books, but anyway, it's called Evolve Your Brain. This is another book. Tina, I don't know if you read this one too, by Joe Dispenza, but Evolve Your Brain. And he talks about how the neural nets, how your brain works. So the best way that I can describe it is like you have these connections in your brain, and we have certain behaviors that we have. Like if you're stressed out all the time, you can actually exhaust those connections, which can lead to things like depression, and where you're just like, you know what, I'm just over it, I don't want to deal with it. And if you have negative ways that you're dealing with the stress, things like maybe eating a bunch of sweets like sugar, right? Some people say, you know what, I'm an emotional eater, and that's what I do. I see a couple people shaking their head, they're like, I'm an emotional eater, that's what I do. If I'm stressed out, I'm just going to eat. But what happens is that your brain, there's something called like serotonin and dopamine, right? So if you're eating a bunch of sugar, what ends up being communicated to your body is like, oh, this makes me feel good. So then you have these connections in your brain that say, okay, if I don't feel good, eat more sugar. It's like it's sending these messages, eat more sugar, because then it will make us happy. But it's not helping us. So what we want to do in using yoga, using meditation, for us to be more conscious of the habits that we have that are not in support of the lifestyle that we're wanting, right? So instead of eating the sugar that releases the serotonin, we could practice yoga, which also helps to release like dopamine and help us to get this relaxed feeling. So we want to replace the negative things with a positive thing. So just understand that it's a chemical reaction that's happening in your brain, and it's not just, oh, I love cakes and cookies and pies and all this kind of stuff. No, what you love is the serotonin and dopamine that's being released, that your body is saying, yeah, give me more of that, give me more of that, give me more of that. And you can change the brain. It does take time. It does take time, because what you want to do is you want to almost prevent those messages from firing for the negative things and shift it to the positive, right? So it's like you want to alter the neural nets to change your habits and your behavior by getting those, the healthy habits in place of the negative ones. But yeah, so I just wanted to hop in and share that information really quickly, Kina, so that they have a foundation of, okay, yeah, I know yoga is good, I know eating healthy is good, but what's really going on with this? But you are using yoga is like medicinal, really. It truly is.
So guys, listen, I was at 33, they found a lump in my left breast. And I mean, obviously I was stressed out, like, okay, all right, I'm 33, and all I hear was breast cancer. Now that's not what they said,
Mm-hmm.
That's the story that I told myself, right? And I will tell you that I because of that, they found this lump. It is benign, so yay. But every single year I have to go and get a mammogram. I had to get biopsy, but I have to get this imaging. And I just had this done. For those that follow me on social media, you might remember seeing this story 3 months ago. And they were like, Miss Hodges, we don't know what you did from 2 years ago to last year to today, but it's almost gone. Like we can't even see it. It's almost like not there. And I was like, great, thanks. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that I did differently was that I went totally plant-based, right? I just stopped playing with it. I just jumped in. And yoga, like I had to take the stress out of my life. Guys, stress can kill you. Seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't have to be heart disease and diabetes and all those things. You can die from stress. Stress takes off 10 days of your life every single time. Think about that. Like, you might have just been stressed trying to put breakfast together today. I'm not saying that you just, reduce your lifespan by 10 days, but I mean, when it's that serious and that deep, like, listen, it's a big deal. And so, you were talking about basically mindful eating, right, Erica? And so I'm going to challenge you all to, and I see the questions about what kind of, Erica's answering now, cool. But I'm actually going to challenge everyone to do one mindful meal a day. All right, so we call them yoga meals, but we can call them mindful meals today. And there are 7 guidelines to a mindful meal. So if you're taking notes, I want you to try this. All right, so first and foremost, close your eyes. So step 1 is to close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths. And you want to notice the sense of gratitude for where your food came from. So that's basically like you're saying your grace. If you don't say grace, just have a mindful, quiet moment. You want to remain seated. So when you stand up and eat, you create that indigestion in the body and gas and all kinds of other stuff, right? So you want to make sure that you're sitting down when you eat. There's no conversation while chewing. None, right? While you're eating, you want to refrain from any external distractions. So no reading, no scrolling through your phone, no looking at text messages, no watching TV, no listening to music. It's just you being present in that moment, eating every single bite, right? And then step 5 is that you have to wait until your food is completely chewed and swallowed before you can pick up or take your next bite. So you have to put your fork down between every bite, right? So you take one little bite, put it in, put your fork down, and then you pick up the next one. Step 6 is refrain from putting more than 2 handfuls of food on your plate at any one time. So a lot of times we just overeat. Like, we just put a whole bunch of food on our plate, and it's not really that we're hungry. It's just, but if you put it there, you'll eat it. So no more than 2 fistfuls. All right, and I got big hands, but that's still not a lot of food, right? Okay, no more than 2 fistfuls. And you have to finish eating those 2 handfuls of food. Then you want to wait 3 to 5 minutes before you put any more food on your plate. So finish everything that's on the plate first. Wait 5 minutes, and then go back and get more if you're really still hungry. And most of the time, you're more so thirsty than you are hungry. And then the last step is that you want to wait until your food is completely digested before your next meal. So that's anywhere from 2 to 6 hours until your next meal. Now that might sound like, what? Because I used to do bodybuilding. So I had to be on a schedule. I had to eat every 3 hours. And it was basic, 4 ounces of protein, a half cup carbs, and a bunch of vegetables. Like, that was my life. So I'm like, what do you mean wait? I have to wait 6 hours before I can eat. No, turns out I wasn't really hungry. All right, so this is your challenge, is that 1 meal a day. And if you want to do it with your family so that you're starting to teach them mindfulness as well, mindfulness and gratitude about the food that you have, it's an awareness thing. So that's a challenge. So step 1, close your eyes, take 3 deep breaths, or you're saying your grace. Step 2, remain seated. Step 3, no talking while you're chewing. I've gone as far as to not talk the entire meal. Step 4, no external distractions while you're eating. Step 5, wait until your food is completely chewed and swallowed before you take in the next bite. And you want to make sure you're putting your fork down or spoon and knife down between every single bite. Step 6, you want to refrain from putting more than 2 fistfuls on your plate. And then step 7, you want to wait at least 2 to 6 hours between your mindful meal and your next meal of the day. All right, so it's all about how you show up to take the food in. Because food really is not supposed to be comfort. It's supposed to nourish the body, right? Food is supposed to be your medicine. And if food is your medicine, then you don't need medicine to be your food. You can use your food, you can use breathing techniques to reverse ailments and dis-ease in the body. And Erica's going to talk, talk about that. But I'll tell you about a couple of books that were life-changing for me and some immediate family members. The Science of Breath is an article, and it talks about how the different breathing techniques. So when I was looking last time, we went through like 4 different breathing techniques, but how the breath can heal disease in the body. All right. So specifically, for example, the Ujjayi breath that we did last time, inhaling in through the nose, constricting the back of the throat, exhaling out of the nose. It's that oceanic resonant breath, how it starts to create heat in the body. And when you're creating heat in the body starts its detoxification process, things like that. There's an article that's called Too Hot for Cancer that talks about keeping the body in an elevated heated state for 2 to 3 hours every single day was able to reverse cancer in some patients. So there's stuff out there. So that's ultimately what chemotherapy is. They're just zapping your body. Chemo radiation is just zapping you with a whole bunch of heat, but it's killing everything, right? It's not necessarily doing what, it's not just zapping into that one little area. They can't target that one little area, but at least if you are learning these different techniques, you can kind of do your own healthy version of chemo, so to speak. And then it's an old book, it's from the 80s, but it's awesome. The diet in there, I'm vegan, but I'm plant-based, but I recognize that diet works as well. So it's called Dr. Dean Ornish's Program for Reversing Heart Disease. Guys, every disease that comes up in your body is reversible. Every disease. But you have to feed it in order to do it. Your food has to be your medicine to be able to do that. And the fastest way is to transition to a plant-based lifestyle. And Hadiatu talked about how Erica was one of the reasons that, or probably the key reason in helping one of our friends transition and basically save his own life. So Erica, this is like plant-based transitioning.
Right. Okay, well.
Wait, I need a book. Before you go, Erica, say the last book again, Kina. Dr. Dean
Ornish's, Ornish, Ornish, Dr. Dean Ornish's Program for Reversing Heart Disease. So the first half of that book, he talks about the program itself and how to eat to reverse all of these different things in the body, but specifically he talks about heart disease and high blood pressure. And then the second part of the book are actual programs that you can follow. So it's an actual diet, regimen, sleep, the whole 9 in the back of the book. So it's a thick book, but only the first half is about reversing the heart disease piece. All right, go ahead, Erica.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about plant-based, and then I'm going to do a really quick like meditation, more like an active meditation with the technique that you could use to help you to shift into that parasympathetic nervous system. And then I will turn it back over to Kina for us to kind of get into this yoga, you know what I mean, a little bit more, So we'll do that, okay? So the plant-based lifestyle, I will tell you, that's why I have this shirt on that says progress over perfection, because I transitioned to plant-based. I tried to transition to plant-based over 13 years ago. Now I stopped drinking sodas and eating pork and beef over 20 years ago, and where I was eating a lot of chicken and fish, because at the time I had severe migraine headaches. I mean, like debilitating migraine headaches, to where I had to lay on the couch, lights off, everybody quiet. It was horrible. And the doctors, they didn't know what was going on. So I said, you know what, let me just try something. So after I stopped eating pork and then stopped eating beef and cut out sodas, my headaches went away. And then I was like, okay, this is like kind of cool. And then I realized I was saving some money too, like being plant-based. But then, going through those drive-throughs, y'all, they'll mess you up. I tell my story of trying to transition to plant-based fully 13 years ago. I tried going to Chick-fil-A just to get some fries, because, if you plant-based, you can still eat fries. You can still, Kina, right, you can still eat fries. So I went to Chick-fil-A to get me some fries, y'all, and I left with a chicken sandwich, some chicken nuggets. And I was like, oh gosh, here we go. Okay, so then I ended up having to start over again. A few years later, I was like, okay, okay, now I'm ready. Let's do this. Now I'm going to try vegan. Went vegan, lost like 30 pounds. And let me tell you something, I'm 5'10". So losing 30 pounds real quick, people had questions like, Erica, are you okay? You all right? You look a little sick. You know, what's going on? But it was because I did not have the education. I didn't know how to transition. I just decided to up and do it. And I will tell you this, I am the first person to tell you, if you don't know how to properly transition to a plant-based lifestyle, I would much rather you still eat some meat. I'm gonna just be honest with you. And I have seen the documentaries. I know the value of being plant-based. I know that it has healing capabilities, but you must know what you're doing. Like my sister, she tried to go plant-based, but every day she was eating a cheese pizza for lunch, and that was the only thing she was eating, and she was drinking coffee. I'm like, let me tell you something. This isn't for you right now, and that's okay. It's okay. Progress over perfection. I want for you to eat healthy, but if you can't eat, and if you're not eating the fruits and the veggies and taking like different supplements that may help you to get things like iron, especially women, we have monthly cycles. So if you are, and also too, like my cycles used to be heavy, and I love that, you know, all women are on the call now because we can have these conversations. But I used to bleed heavy 5-6 days. And when I say heavy, I'm talking about like super tampons, super pad, and I'm changing every 30-45 minutes. Like it was that bad. And again, the women in my family, because they didn't want to deal with it, they just decided to have hysterectomies. But I didn't want to make the decision to say, okay, no, I never want to have any more kids. I do have a daughter, but you know, I'm like, I still want to keep my womb. I don't want anybody to just snatch my womb because of something that I could potentially heal my body from. So it wasn't until I changed the way that I was eating and I did it properly that my cycle, it lightened up. I mean, I have three normal days, and then I have 2 days of spotting now because of the way that I eat. Now, even leading up to my cycle, if I decide to binge and eat a bunch of sugar, I'll be honest with you, I hit a whole box of ice cream sandwiches. Now they were plant-based, but I still ate the whole box. My skin broke out a little bit. I mean, it's the So Delicious, Kina, the So Delicious. I ate the whole box. I ate the whole box. But again, this is why I say progress over perfection. So now the beauty of it is I know what I need to do to detox my body. So next week, you know, I'll make sure I write, Erica, this is what we have to do to get things back together. But when it comes to a plant-based lifestyle, you don't want to stress yourself out. I think there are 3 things that I really want to share with you guys. The first thing, the biggest mistake, people just take it too serious. I have friends, they decide to go plant-based, and then they're out here, you know, you killing yourself by eating that meat and all this kind of stuff. And, oh, I'm not going to ever eat any meat again. Don't you know that they're killing these animals? Yes, I understand. But when you're able to step back and say, okay, I want to make sure that you're able to sustain a healthy lifestyle. If that means that you eat plant-based 80% of the time and 20% of the time you're eating baked chicken or shrimp or fish or whatever the situation is, I'm okay with that, because what's more important than you being 100% plant-based is that you are being healthy. So the biggest mistake people make, some people can go cold turkey, others cannot, and that's okay, because when you make the transition, again, you want to make sure that you are doing it in a way that is safe and is healthy. The benefit, of course, to going plant-based, we've all heard about the health benefits. We know that you have the ability to heal your body. We know that you then become aware of everything that you're putting in your body and on your body. An example that I love to use is that for those who have luxury cars, if you have a Mercedes or a Benz or something like that, you will not put regular gasoline in those vehicles. But we will put things in our body that it may not help our body run at its optimal level. And people will tell me all the time, oh, Erica, I'm not trying to go plant-based because you're going to die anyway. Okay, so let's think about our cars, for example. Yes, your car eventually, your car, you could total loss your car. You could drive your car and something happened to your car. It could break down, all kinds of things. But guess what you're not going to do every day? You're not going to go outside and pour sugar in your gas tank every day because you want to have that vehicle that you use to get from point A to point B. You want to be able to have that vehicle for as long as you possibly can. just like your body. I don't know about you, but my soul lives in this body. I don't know if you take your soul out of your body and put it in a little box at night. I don't know if you take your soul out and you put it in a shoebox. I don't know. But as far as what I know right now, I know that this physical structure that you have, that's what you're rocking with for this lifetime. I don't know about lifetimes thereafter, but my point is, why not give your body what it needs for you to have a good life experience, for you to be able to exist without pains and ailments and things? Why not give your body what it needs to really thrive? So when you're thinking about what you're eating, think about that analogy with the car. Like, you're not going outside and pouring sugar in your tank, but listen, sometimes you may eat a whole box of Oreos, but understand what that may potentially do to your body long term. It's okay to occasionally treat yourself, but we don't want to always do it. And again, it's progress over perfection. I don't judge. I'm not the type of wellness coach that's going to be on your Instagram page and you post you've ate a piece of fried chicken. I'm not going to comment below it like, oh, I can't believe it. No, I'm going to say, that looks good. Because guess what? There was a point in time that I was eating fried chicken too. I was. So I'm not here to judge, but I do know the power of transitioning to a plant-based lifestyle. So I support individuals who are on that path to do it in a way that they're not stressing themselves out. Because remember, going back to the example, if I'm stressing you out or people are stressing you out about being plant-based, guess what? You won't be able to digest the healthy food that you're eating anyway. So we want to practice. Actually, I love those tips that Kina just gave us, the mindful meal. That's going to actually help to enhance your digestion, just based on understanding that if you are stressed, your body pulls the blood from everywhere else in your body to go to your extremities. Now, before you eat, if we are using those techniques that she gave us, we're going to be able to maximize the absorption of the nutrients that our body needs to do what it naturally wants to do, which is to be healthy, right? If you were to cut yourself and you put a Band-Aid on the cut, you don't do anything, your body naturally heals itself. So keep that in mind as we are thinking about the illnesses and diseases that you may experience or someone else may experience. Just keep those things in mind. So what I wanted to do is just, of course, quickly have a meditation for you guys. Meditating, again, don't make it stressful. Don't make it stressful. We spoke about the stress enough to know that we want to make sure that we create an environment where we can maximize the tools that we're being given. So there's something, it's called Ho'oponopono. Ho'oponopono. And it's a meditation. It's actually a mantra, like that you're saying, right? Because some people think meditation is just sitting, being quiet, not having any words or not having any thoughts. And yes, some of us have the ability to suspend our thoughts, but you don't have to do that when you're starting out. Again, it's progress over perfection. Perhaps you start off meditating just 5 minutes a day, or if you just want to do 60 seconds, there's a really great book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And what he talks about in that book, Atomic Habits, he speaks to, it's not about you doing something for 30, 45 minutes a day. It's more so about you creating the consistent behavior to create this new identity, to become someone who meditates, to become someone that does yoga, right? So that you are investing some time into it. And this is just really quick. You can do this. The mantra is, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. Now, going back to the hidden messages in water, we know the power of words in our bodies with our bodies being made up of 70 to 80% water. By saying these things to ourselves, it's going to help to give us this feeling that is going to help us transition into that parasympathetic nervous system. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. Because there are so many things that we say to ourselves throughout the day. Some things, as soon as we get up in the morning, perhaps we look at our bodies in the mirror and we're like, oh my God, I'm fat, oh my gosh, I'm ugly, my hair's messed up. We just beat ourselves up. So we want to make sure that we're countering some of that negative self-talk with something that's positive. So the I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And I'm going to show you how to do something. It's called emotional freedom technique, and where you are tapping pressure points in your body to help to support that transition into the parasympathetic nervous system. And there's a lot of science behind all this, but I really want to be respectful of your time. And plus I want Fakina to be able to, you know, wrap us up with this yoga. So I'm just going to, for maybe 2 minutes, and I want for you to be aware of how your body feels at the end of this, okay? So this is a pressure point. It's right here. So if you see your eyebrow, so it's like right here. This is a pressure point. This is a pressure point on the right here. You see where yeah, you see me. And right under your eye, we'll tap here as well. So right under your eye, kind of like below that eye socket. And this is a pressure point, like right under your nose, right here. So you just kind of take like two or three fingers and you're tapping. I just want to show you where the points are before we get started, because we're going to do this for 2 minutes. And here, your collarbone, like right here, this is where we're tapping, these 2 points. So right here, we're going to tap here. And I know this looks crazy, but I'm telling y'all, it works, right? Like there are a couple times I feel annoyed. And then right under your, like your bra strap, okay? Right under your bra strap. Okay, so we're going to go through this just for 2 minutes, okay? So we're going to say, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. The corner of your eye, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. Right below your collarbone, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. Under your bra strap, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And the last round, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And really connect to this. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. Now close your eyes and inhale deeply through your nose and exhale through your mouth. 2 more deep breaths. Inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Last one. Inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. And just notice how you feel. And Kina, I will shift it over to you, my dear.
Staying with that, staying in that really calm, sacred space that you're in right now. Keep breathing, inhaling in through the nose, opening the mouth, sighing it out. And I just want you to take a moment to observe how the body is feeling. Give yourself permission to just be, to observe whatever you've come with, whatever that looks like. Whether you are happy or anxious or sad or grieving, sleepy, honor that space. Nothing that you need to do with it in this moment. Start to deepen the breath, inhaling in through the nose, exhaling out of the mouth. Becoming a silent observer of anything that's coming up in the body for you. Any sensations that you're feeling, any tension. Again, not that there's anything you need to do with it, just observe. Yoga is about calming the fluctuations of the mind. And the best way to do that is to let thoughts play like a movie. So we practice non-attachment, not going down the foxhole when things come up. Just recognizing. And then returning back to our breath. And we're going to start to cultivate our Ujjayi breath. So as you inhale in through the nose, inhale nice and deep. And as you exhale, seal the lips. Pull the exhale along the back of the throat and exhale out the nose as if you're trying to fog a mirror. And keeping with this Ujjayi breath, going to start to engage some of our energy centers. So I want you to squeeze your pelvic floor. It's called your Mula Bandha. It's as if you're doing a Kegel. Keeping with that Ujjayi breath. Let's take a couple of squeezes there. Keeping your Mula Bandha engaged, we're going to lift that to the belly. So you'll inhale in through the nose, same way you have been. And then as you exhale out of the nose, you want to draw the navel in towards the spine, and then you want to zip it up. You might even notice that you sit up a little taller. Keeping those two bandhas engaged, you could still have this Ujjayi breath. And this Ujjayi breath is an audible breath. It literally means breath of victory. And then on your next inhale, you're going to sweep both arms up over your head, gaze up through the fingertips. Allow your palms to connect, interlace your fingers with the exception of your first fingers. And then as you exhale, you want to start to sink the body back. I'm just going to turn sideways. All right, so sinking the body back, straightening the arms. And then as you inhale, you want to reach forward, hinging through the hips. So you can't reach anymore. Then as you exhale, place your hands down, whether you're on the floor, on a mat. Maybe you allow your head to drop. Maybe it connects with the floor. Maybe it doesn't. Okay. Inhale, sweep the arms back up over the head again. Palms connect, interlace the fingers, squeeze the biceps by the ears. Squeeze your head. Exhale. Sink the hips back. Sink the back. Feeling this in the back of the shoulders. Inhale, reach forward. And then exhale, place your hands down, allow the head to hang heavy. When we start to connect one breath, one movement, inhale, sweeps the arms up. Squeeze here, exhale, sink back. Inhale, reach forward. Exhale, the palms down. Nice. And we'll do that again. Inhale, sweeping the arms up over the head, gaze through the fingertips. Palms connect. Exhale, back. Inhale, reaches you forward. Exhale, the hands down, resting the head. And you've been here before, so you want to keep going. See, your breath is a love note to the body. So I want you to start writing. Start writing a letter to the body. Allowing yourself to continue moving through these inhales, lifting, lengthening, exhale, reaching. Inhale, expanding. Exhale, moving into a new shape. See, inhales are going to lengthen you. They're going to stretch you. They're going to help you expand. Exhales are going to help you move into a different shape or to help you explore or surrender into a pose. Keep going. Nice. And then it becomes a dance between breath and movement. And you get to take the lead. This is your practice. So, worst case scenario, if you don't really know anything else to do, you just close your eyes and you breathe. And you take that through one more time. We'll all meet with our arms down, our head hanging heavy. Nice. And you'll sweep the arms up over the head, gaze up through the fingertips, palms connect. And then exhale the hands down to heart center, allowing your thumbs to rest right in the middle of your breastbone, right at the heart chakra. We're going to take a couple of rounds of lion's breath. So I want you to close your eyes. In lion's breath is, think of a lion yawning. So you're going to inhale in through the nose, and then as you exhale, you're going to stick your tongue out as far as it will go and go. Inhale in through the nose. Lion's breath. Keep going, inhaling in through the nose. Exhale, out. Keep going. It's this energetic awakening that's happened every time you release in this exhale. And I want you to start to whisper the words in your head. Let's on an inhale, and exhale, go. Inhale the words let's, and exhale, go. Keeping with that lion's breath, inhaling in, sticking your tongue out, exhaling, go. And on this last inhale, hold it at the top. Till you feel like you can't take in any more air, then I want you to take in 2 quick sips of air. And on this final exhale, open your mouth and sigh out everything that is not serving your greatest and highest good. I invite you to take an introspective moment here. Close your eyes and whisper thank you to yourself. It's not often that we pause to extend grace and love to ourselves. So you just want to say thank you. Thank you for showing up for yourself today, for allowing yourself to hold space with so many people, allowing yourself to grow, to stretch, to transform, and to heal. And as always, the divine in me loves, honors, and sees the divine in each and every one of you. We'll bring our thumbs to our center of our brow bone, and we'll all bow forward and say namaste.
Namaste.
And namaste just means that all that is in me, the light and love that's in me, loves, honors, and sees the light that is in you. All right.
Yay! Thank you. That's so good. You're like, oh. Now I want to I'm going to meditate and do more yoga. I want to raise my leg above my head, but then I'm like, I might rip something. So I'm not there yet.
Enjoy the journey to that process. So listen, I have pulled hamstrings trying to get in splits before it was my time. So know that there's a journey. All of this is a journey. The split is down the road, but there's a whole lot you got to do for that. So you care.
I love it. I love it. And I love that you guys gave us so many places to go find more. All the different books. I wrote down most of them, but what would be helpful is, I think Christy had put it in the chat, if you could put it in the Global Change Agent Women's Facebook page. That way we can start reading them. And I'm the type of person that needs to read a book and have the audio. And I got to do them dual. I don't know why, but that's just kind of how I am. So I'll look for audios of all of those too. And if you guys have them, put those in there also. That would be helpful for all of us. And I do know this, Erica, you do have a class that helps people work their way towards a vegan lifestyle. If you could just tell people about that really fast, that way people will know to go where to find information. I saw somebody put they want a good vegan cookbook. And if you've never had a vegan lifestyle, you're like, what do I do? Eat salad every day? That's not the answer. So if you tell us what your class is like, that would be cool.
Sure.
And then
Absolutely. So my course is called Zero to Plant-Based in 30 Days. So I take you through basically the things I wish I would have known before I went plant-based. So first, we're talking about mindset. We will talk about developing the mindset. We're doing an audit of everything that we have in our kitchens. The second week, we're talking about basic nourishment, like how to nourish your body. The third week, we're talking about shopping, and then we get into recipes, because if you know why you're buying something, it will be easier to go into the store and say, okay, boom, I know I need to stick to the external perimeter of the store, but specifically, veggies, and okay, what are some meat substitutes? We started talking about meat substitutes. And then the last week we talk about a plant-based lifestyle and how to make this sustainable for you. So yes, Tiara's in my class. Thank you for the shout out. She hung in there, both her and her sister, for the 30 days. And what I love most is seeing how people go from, I don't know where to start, or I tried to go vegan months ago, for them to go through the program and then they begin to share information with me, or I see them sharing information on their social media platforms. It is so incredibly inspiring. So if you're interested in joining my class, which I'm launching the first week of June, I'm relaunching, you can message me on Instagram or Facebook. So on Instagram, it's Erica is online. Erica is online. Erica is online. And the course is called Zero to Plant-Based in 30 Days. And I'm going to hold your hand and encourage you and support you through the program. We meet once a week. Christy, yes, is in the program. She graduated. Everyone graduated last week. So, and I love on you through the program. I have little giveaways during our weekly calls. So if you're interested and you're feeling the desire, you need some support, reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to support you in your journey. Thank you.
Thank you much, Erica. And I'm gonna do the June 1st class with you. So I'm in.
Okay.
I'm in
All
for
right,
it. We'll see who else will do it with us. We'll have some fun with it. Denise, you down?
Sure.
Look, Denise says she's down. Denise is gonna do it with us too. I know there's a bunch of ladies that'll be down for it. It's really just like the educate. Like once you understand things, you operate differently. And I think we just have been miseducated our whole lives about multiple things. That's why these calls are so beneficial. So good. So there's somebody else on here. Lanya says she's down. So you're gonna go to Erica is online. Just so you guys know, Erica is online on Instagram, and just message her and say that you want to do the class. Tyra's down. Let's go, Tyra. Let's go ahead and do this together. It'll be a fun journey for us. And I mean, this is what this group is for, guys. Like I'm excited to be able to go through different journeys in my life with all of you ladies, and we're all starting from zero. So I've been living more of a plant-based lifestyle, but there's still stuff that I haven't educated myself on. So let's just do this together, become healthier and wealthier all together. So I appreciate everybody. I know we're late today, my bad. But I wanted to make sure that we got all of this. Wanted to make sure that you all were able to hear from these phenomenal women and the knowledge that they have, but also hear their heart behind it. So it's like one thing for somebody to tell you how to do something, and then for you to understand where they're coming from. Nobody's trying to sell you anything or force you ready to do any of this stuff. So we appreciate everybody. We have this every single Sunday from 3 to 5-ish. So we make it work, and you guys can, put ideas of different things that you would love to hear about. And I know that I am going to have like a series where we do some like real estate stuff. And this is just so you know, it's not like to tell you have to do real estate. It's going to be like somebody talking about being a realtor, talking about wholesaling, talking about all those different things. So we'll have like a series. Okay. So if you think of some different things, or if you guys have credible sources that you feel like would be great, we can kind of vet them out through the process and see if they'd be a good fit for our program. But, we still don't know what the world is going to look like. And I know that they're like opening things back up, but I hope all of us that are on here are wise enough to understand that we better develop other skill sets and multiple streams of income during this time, because so many people are going to have a very rude awakening. And for real, the world is going to go through a depression that we've probably never ever, like we in our lifetime has never ever seen, but I think it's going to be the worst that the world has ever gone through. And what would be awesome is for us to be more well-equipped, like mentally and spiritually, but also financially, right? So I'm hoping you guys got what you needed. Do me a favor, in the Facebook group, write some of the things that you guys got from this. I'll make sure I put the recording in the group page, so you're more than welcome to share it with friends and family members. If you have any of your best friends that you're like, they really need this, getting them to listen to the recording, like that's cool, but when they listen to it live, it makes a difference. Like you pay attention. When it's a recording, you do 25 other things. When you're live, you're like, all right, I'm locked in and loaded. And so, getting them to be able to hear from the phenomenal ladies that are on here is everything. So I appreciate you all. If there's anything that you wanted to say, Kina, Erica, Christy, is there anything left, or are we good to go?
If you need to boost your immune system, Kina has elderberry syrup.
Yes, she does. She has elderberry syrup, just so you know, and Erica has sea moss, which I just got. So I need to get the elderberry syrup from you, Kina. So I ordered my sea moss, and guys, I ordered it, and I'm like, what do I do with it now? Like, I had no idea. I just knew you were supposed to have it. I'm like, I kept looking at the bag, and I'm like, maybe she told us and I didn't pay attention. But so yeah, so she has a video that shows you how to turn it into the sea moss gel, so you know what to do. But guys, I was completely and totally lost. I was like, I'm supporting and don't know what I'm doing. So thank you for getting this together.
Yeah.
So yes, sea moss
Absolutely.
and elderberry syrup. Go ahead, Kina. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, Erica for the sea moss and me for the elderberry. Now we don't have enough time, but you know, there's a whole nother segment that we could have talked about herbal supplements and herbal healing. And so, as an herbalist, if you have questions, I actually do free consultations. So if you find me on social media, I'm happy to sit with you. We do 15 to 30-minute consultations via Zoom. We can talk about what's going on for you and then kind of help you get on track. And again, I push a lot of stuff to Erica because helping people transition to plant-based is not really like that's her wheelhouse, and that's not mine. So I love that we can work together. So as we, start to help you on your life transition plan, know that you have access to both of us. Looks like a need. So just find me on social media or just find me on my website, KinaHodges.com.
Yeah, and we would definitely love for you guys to do a segment on the herbs that we should be taking and not taking. That would be definitely helpful. I think everybody on here would be very happy, being able to get that information. There's so much misinformation out there about taking this vitamin or this vitamin. So yeah, we would be down for that. I wouldn't mind if we had a piece of that next week. If you guys want to put something together for that, we'd be happy about it.
Okay.
Hadi, this is Christy. I just wanted to highlight how cool it is that we as women can support each other, and then also just how aligned everything that everyone talked about today was. And when you're in alignment, really a different life, but you have to align like body, soul, spirit. And how I just thought how cool it was, how from what you talked about, Hadi, to what I talked about to Erica and Kina, it really just confirmed everything. And I think as us as women, we feel like we have to compete with each other versus complement each other. And so I just thank you so much for really seeing the vision and having the people share on this platform, because I think it's changing the mindset of women all over the world and how they do sisterhood. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. I love you, ladies. Love you all. I love you all. All my sisters from other misters.
Yay.
All right, ladies. Well, we're going to end this out because you guys might have in like 3 more minutes. You might have my crazy niece coming in here doing the most. She's like been banging on the door like, done yet? So I'm gonna go spend some time with her. But yeah, everybody, make sure you put the couple of things that you got from this. Shout these ladies out on your social media also. They'll all put their social media in the chat really quick again, but it's also going to be on the Facebook page. So shout them out so people know what they're doing. I mean, this is one of the best ways for anything to grow is through, we all know, word of mouth. And the knowledge that you're attaining here, just think about it. If the 5 most important women in your life were on this call today, what would their lives look like? Like, that alone is everything. If the 5 most important women in your life were on here right now, like, wouldn't things already be different for them? So start thinking about that. And when they see that you're celebrating and excited about it, you might get them excited about making that life change and shift too. So I love all of you guys lots. Very thankful for your commitment. I appreciate all of the, you guys give me like notes on things, and Kina will call me and tell me things. Erica will call me and tell me things to make it better. Know that this is our platform. It is not my platform. Please understand that. So if there are things that need to shift, shake, and move, I'm down for all of it. So I appreciate the collaboration and the love, and I'm excited about next week, guys. Have a fantastic week. Bless people along the way, and see you all soon.
All right.
Thank you, Patty. Thank you, Erica.